Welcome to the Wild Rift EMEA Championships. It is week 5, and last week we whittled a few more teams out of the bracket. We started up in the upper bracket with REC versus NAVI, with two of our titans of the WREC, and it would be REC proving why we all have high expectations of the organization, making their way past NAVI in our first series of the day. Second series of the day, Formulation, some of our lesser known at the beginning of the tournament teams really making a name for themselves as Formulation with this team fighting style, made light work of Team Dark, and really brought this Seraphine carry to the forefront of our day one meta, to which Team Dark said, okay, we've got to play another series the next day against Weigers, and they were like, okay, anything they can do, we can win with as well. They brought out Ashe support with Seraphine carry, with this really quick turnaround for Team Dark to be able to make their way through the lower bracket. Then it was on to NAVI versus Aphelion. NAVI looking to kind of right the wrongs of their series against REC, and after a slow start, NAVI reached the form that we were expecting, making their way through with a 2-0. Then we turned our attention to one of the titans that fell the previous week with Team Queso against Blows. It was a Spanish showdown, and Blows, while they did try, Team Queso made light work of going through Blows, gaining very quick 2-0, very convincing win for Team Queso. And then Zero Zone and Control were pushing the Nexus. It looked like they were going to win the series in game number 2, but Zero Zone would bounce back with the biggest comeback we've had to reverse sweep the series and set us up for a fantastic week 5 of action. The WREC starts now.
Welcome to the official Riot Games Wild Rift EMEA Championship.
Everybody round here know we get hype. Everybody round.
Welcome everybody to the Wild Rift European Championship. It's week 5 already. I cannot believe it. And Hells, you're joining me with Stuart. It's felt so long since you and I have been on broadcast together. We had a crazy week of games last week. What was your biggest takeaway?
I mean, what was my biggest takeaway? We know what it's going to be. It was the Zero Zone KPRL game, right? What an incredible game that was. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it live, but I rewatched it, and my God, that was a crazy game. And that makes me even more excited to see Zero Zone's game later on in the day starts.
Yeah, that was one hell of a VOD. If you haven't caught it, go back after this broadcast, go watch it if you're in chat. Stuart, you and I were keeping our eyes on that action through the upper bracket, through the lower bracket last week. I don't even really know where to begin, because if this week's games are anything like it, then Viv, Esports, and Game Lord, eventually REC and Formulation, are going to be a fantastic series too.
Like you said, we're down to our top 8 teams now of the Wild Rift European Championship, and this is where things get tense. I think these are definitely proven to be the top 8 teams, and we got a lot of exciting games to come. This could be the best weekend yet.
Absolutely. We're starting our weekend off with Team Dark and NAVI taking to the Rift. I think two teams that kind of have a little bit to prove right now. We've seen, of course, both of them fall to a number of different teams throughout the bracket. Team Queso versus Zero Zone is our second series today. That is one heck of a series that we're going to have to watch. And then we turn our attention to the top side of the bracket with Viv and Game Lord and REC and Formulation. I can't believe we're only at 8 teams already. We, of course, have been predicting. We're at the point where these series could go either way, I think. Honestly, there's valid reasons for supporting either side of it. So when we take a look at the predictions, we'll see who indeed is voting for what this week. I think, if I recall correctly, I voted for NAVI, and Queso is where I put my chips down. Stuart, you're on the Zero Zone hype train after this week.
I'm definitely on the Zero Zone hype train. I've been watching them throughout the week as well. Purge, this is my 8th day casting in a row, so it's going to be good fun. But yeah, I'm honestly really impressed with Zero Zone. Even though they did, lose twice to Team Queso, I feel like they've got the information now from Team Queso, and I believe it. I'm on the Zero Zone hype train now. I'm ready for that game.
Well, I know, Hells, you and I are not quite on the Zero Zone hype train. There's a little bit more belief on the other side there for Team Queso. I mean, they've been playing a lot of that Yumi and the Olaf, and we've seen really good performances out of them.
I mean, I don't want you to say that because I am kind of on the hype train of Zero Zone, but I'm still voting logically. I think Team Queso is still going to win because they're so incredibly good. But I want Zero Zone to win, right? Like, I'm not saying that I don't want them to win. I actually really want them to win because, damn, I really loved watching their games. Just everything they've showed us has been so amazing. And that makes me even more excited for that series today. So I think Queso is going to win. But I want Zero Zone to win.
That's fair. I will bring the predictions back up, but I'll be gentle about it. I'll be gentle at that point. I believe we're going to say goodbye to Stuart for now as he gets ready for the rest of the show. He's been casting like 8 days in a row, so we'll give you a little bit of a break before we lean on you a little bit more. As Hels and I can jump into some of our details that we want to pick up on coming into week 5. We've had 4 whole weeks of play now, and for us, I think this is the time where we start to look towards the meta and look at potentially like 3 really big champions that we've been tracking now week on week. And the first place we want to start is with one of our top lane bruisers. Darius has found his way through the bans so much that he's our most picked champion right now.
Yeah, and what I find interesting about Darius is he doesn't get banned out too often, and I feel like he should. He is so incredibly powerful, and we've seen it happen multiple times where basically a Baron laner on Darius has been running over the enemy team completely on his own, right? We saw it happen with Rix as well, with Random, and talking about another champion that can do basically the same is Fiora. But the thing about Fiora is she does actually have a 100% pick and ban rate stress, which means every single game she has either been picked or banned.
Yeah, this champion has flexibility, it has scaling, it even has early game. Like, I think everybody has played against a Fiora in solo queue, and you're like, wow, this champion's kind of broken right now. And the teams feel it as well. Like, I believe Andre's played it in one game. We've seen a couple of junglers. It only gets through once in a while, but it has this massive, massive presence on the game that we keep continuing to track through the meta. And one champion that slipped out of the meta and then came back into the meta with all of his bot lane mages is Ziggs.
Definitely Ziggs, and I'm guilty of this as well. I kind of thought that Ziggs fell off a few weeks ago, a few months ago, because they've nerfed him. But oh man, I was wrong, and we've been proved wrong definitely by players like E-Man and Doom playing the Ziggs and just doing so much damage on the champion. He's like one of the safest champions to play and deals one of the most damage in the late game. Absolute incredible champion. So these are the 3 champions that we're gonna have our eyes on, and I'm 100% sure, definitely with the Fiora, because she has a 100% pick or ban rate, that we're going to be seeing probably all 3 of these champions today, Stress.
Yeah, exactly. We're anticipating them featuring in some way in every single game that we play. There are obviously a couple of others that we haven't touched on. We'll walk you through those in picks and bans. But yes, certainly these are 3 that we wanted to highlight now that we have enough games under our belt to really dive deep into the meta. Lots of fun stuff in the meta. We are still on 3.0.B, the patch that was released, I believe it was last week, the one you are playing on live at home. So no major changes. I know there was, of course, a preview video that came out yesterday. None of that is hitting the Rift for competitive for quite some time. So don't you worry about that. We'll let you know when it's important to take a look at that. However, I believe we're ready to jump over to Stuart, who has an interview, I believe, with Formulation. Oh, we're not going to take an interview. We're actually going to take a look right at our first series of the day. We are going to be jumping into Team Dark versus Navi. On the side of Team Dark is Elegy, Sync, Chingxi, Mario, and Juicy. On the side of Navi, it's Phi, Vex, Yiki, Hydro, and Sho. And once again, Yekyu has always eluded me on the name. So obviously, there's a lot of players that we could be picking up on. We've talked a lot about Vex in the past, so I think we can leave Vex for today. For you, Hels, any other players that you think in the last couple of weeks have really been making a name for themselves?
What I'm really going to be looking at between these 2 teams is the Baron lane matchup, right? Elegy, he's shown such potential on his Darius, especially on Team Dark, and then Phi. We've seen his Garen, right? We've all seen his Garen. It's hella scary, and I'm just very excited to see how these 2 incredibly good Baron laners are going to be matching up against each other, right? Like, we know there's a lot of players like Vex, Yakui, and then, but these Baron laners are what my eyes are going to be on.
Well, Baron laners are one of the places we'll be keeping our eyes on. I believe we are actually ready for that interview with Stuart and Mavilla, who is the Formulation Gaming coach.
Thank you very much. I'm indeed joined by Mavilla, who is the Formulation Gaming coach. First up, Mavilla, I just want to say congratulations to you and the team for making it this far in the tournament so far. What's your thoughts been about the tournament so far and about how your team's been performing?
I'm kind of happy for the performance that we approached in the last weeks. I'm kind of happy that we progressed in terms of champion pool, in terms of macro, and getting a place in the table. This tournament is kind of fun. Like I think that there have been a lot of surprises in the table, a lot of new clubs actually getting a seat in the table, and pretty much very exciting. Not gonna lie.
Awesome. I know that we've been seeing on social media as well that yourselves and most of the rest of the Formulation game as well are actually at a boot camp as well. How's that been going for you and the team?
It's kind of fun to be in real life with the guys and actually try hard in 24/7 every day here next to each other.
That's awesome. And I got to get your kind of thoughts as well for tomorrow's series against WREC.GG. It's a very tough ask, but what do you think about the series and your opponents?
WREC.GG is actually a very tough opponent. We've been scouting and trying to do new formulas against them specifically. I think it's going to be a very entertaining match and that everybody will enjoy. And I think that we still have chances to win. It's a tough opponent, but we will give our 110% if possible.
That's going to be awesome. Mavilla, thank you very much for joining me in this interview. Good luck tomorrow as well in the series game for WREC.GG and the rest of the tournament. Back to Stress and Hells.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Yeah, good to hear from Mavilla. We haven't heard too much from Formulation in general, but I love watching their playstyle. I think they're one of the most fun teams of playing that team fighting style, like with the Seraphine that we saw last week. So looking forward to that series. Let's dial back in on Team Dark versus Navi. This is, of course, the lower bracket matchup, which means one of these teams will be exiting the competition after this series. And I think Team Dark are a team that have taken a little bit longer to kind of get to where we were expecting them to be, right? Like I know we were heavily predicting them early on, but some of the results just weren't quite there.
Yeah, definitely. They lost a bit earlier on, but then they showed the results in the losing bracket. And then about Navi, right? The only real reason they're in the losing bracket is because they were facing up against WREC, and they nearly won that first game. It was kind of unlucky for them. So I feel like they have that big boost, right? Like we shouldn't be here and we're going to get out of it as fast as we can. But being up against Team Dark, that's also showing this incredible performance in the loser bracket. And both teams are just going to have the same mentality right there.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Team Dark taking their cues from Formulation last week worked out well, where it was just like, we got beaten by this team fighting style. Now we're going to bring it to ourselves on the next day, and they mixed in the Ashe support. We heard from Mario that, you know, they practiced it a little bit. They'd been working on it for weeks. But Team Dark are the team that also pulled out like a Mumu support in week one, where they have these unorthodox strats that maybe they'll be able to kind of surprise Navi as well as bringing some of that team fighting as well. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing on where they can go from here, because I think Team Dark have a lot of potential, whereas Navi we already have expectations on.
Yeah, definitely. And now they're actually up against a really strong team. They were up against KTR, which is also a good team, by the way, but this is Navi. This is one of the Titans. And, you know, testing out these kinds of weird things against Navi, like Amumu support, is going to be a tough one, right? You have to be prepared for that. You have to have a real solid strategy to make it work. So it's going to be interesting to see what they're actually going to do up against a team like Navi.
Yeah, that's what we're going to have to keep our eyes on. Let's hear what Stuart wants to keep his eyes on with his key points for our first series of the day.
Thank you very much, Stress. Yes, this is going to be the key points for our first series of the day. What side of Team Dark will we see? We've seen that they, can perform very, very well, and they have beaten teams like Viv Esports before, but they also lose some games as well against kind of some of the lesser known teams, especially in this tournament as well, like Formulation in the upper bracket a few weeks ago. We talk about these crazy picks as well. Stress picked up a little bit about Seraphine as well. So it's going to be really interesting if Seraphine is going to be priority in this series. Maybe Navi have learned a thing or two from Formulation and Team Dark. You've got the duo lane of Team Dark as well, with Mario and Juicy picking up these really, really interesting picks. Love to see how that goes. And then will Navi bounce back as well? They've been doing relatively well, but in some of the games that they've either won, they've definitely fallen close behind. Some of the notable ones are when they won 2-0 against Entropic. They was really close to losing the series, and even last week as well against Aphelion. It wasn't the most clean series. So I feel like this series can go either way, and it's going to be a very, very close game. So make sure you keep your eyes on these points. So back to Stress and Hell to get us closer to game number 1.
Well, if we've not hammered it home enough yet, all of these series are close. That's really, like, we've put our predictions out there. I think you can make really strong arguments for both teams here. For me now, it kind of just comes down to play style I enjoy watching. As a play-by-play caster, I'm like, I love Vex on Lee Sin. I want to see that. And then I think NAVI will win. That's as deep into it as I want to get.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a color caster, it's different. I want to see the crazy strategies, and those are coming through from Team Dark, right? I want to see the Amumu support work. I want to analyze how that worked out, if it works out, right? So maybe I should switch my prediction to Team Dark right here, because you're going to be the one for NAVI, and I'm going to be the one for Team Dark.
We've got to try and hold you to it. I know it doesn't mean anything on the prediction game. I know we're not really keeping track, but it's just a little bit of fun. We want to hear your predictions in chat as well. Make sure you're using those channel points to vote for the team you think will take the series. There's been kind of heavy swings on that, but I'm just not even going to talk about that. We're going to go into picks and bans for our first game of the day, patch 3.0.b. We're expecting, of course, priority on Fiora in the draft. We saw a lot of Olaf bans last week, as well as a couple of Yumi bans. Now, of course, Yumi got all of those buffs coming into last week, so there we have been expecting her to be gone. Oh, on blue side is an interesting one, because she pairs up with a lot of things that I actually kind of think teams have been first picking her when available.
Yeah, and we're just seeing the obvious bans right here, right? Like, it's the set ban. We're expecting these kind of bans. Yumi ban, Fiora is probably going to get banned. Champions like that. And it's interesting to see that just every team seems to be taking kind of the same approach during the ban phase in these drafts. I want to see some teams leave some picks open on purpose. And I've talked about this earlier, right? Like, for example, leaving the set open and then having counters to it, right? Like you can, if you have a coach in your team, you can figure out those counters. And interestingly, we see a Jax ban. Jax did get nerf upon nerf upon nerf, but he's still getting ban stress.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here is we've seen a lot of Jax Yumi, right? Like that combination is very, very strong, but you've already banned the Yumi, so you don't really need to ban the Jax as such. So we'll see whether that stays the same for Team Dark and whether they indeed leave it through. Europe here, if for those of you that watch other regions in Europe, we like a lot of bot lane mages right now. We don't necessarily play the likes of the Twisted Fates or the Rivens, a couple of champions that find their way into the meta across the board. And blue side Fiora ban, these bans from Team Dark, two of them I would class as a red side ban typically, because they're first pickable, like in Yumi and Fiora.
Yeah, definitely. Fiora seems to be a target ban, because indeed you can first pick her, and yeah, it will be great for your team. Or you can basically force NAVI to ban out the Fiora. But instead, they give NAVI the chance to ban out the Darius, and we've seen Elegy on Darius. Incredibly good. So I feel that may have been a mistake, unless Elegy is not a good Fiora, but they actually choose to pick the Garen. And I feel like it's not necessarily because Elegy is amazing at Garen. Like, sure, he may be really good. We haven't seen too much about it, but I feel like this is mostly taking away Garen from Vi. Because we've seen Vi on Garen before, and oh my god, it was crazy. He absolutely destroyed the enemies with it.
Really strong performance. Vex's Lee Sin is available if they want to go that way, although we have also seen the likes of the Kazakhs have priority in the draft last week. We saw a bunch of different champions, and Gragas is a champion we haven't even mentioned on the broadcast up until now. However, Gragas has had such high priority on his flex rate, where you can play mid, you can play top, you can play support, you can play jungle, you can play AP, you can play tank. Everywhere. Like, whatever you need him to do, Gragas is going to do. And Olaf actually finds his way through the bans as well. Didn't talk about that yet. He was banned in pretty much every single game last week.
Yeah, definitely. Olaf is incredibly powerful, especially up against a pick like the Garen, because Olaf does true damage, so he's going to shred through that the shield and everything that Garen gets. And there it is, the Ziggs. As we said, this is very predictable. Like, this is a very predictable draft. We've just seen some power picks being picked up very early on in the draft. And I especially like the Gragas pick, because as you mentioned, it's a very flexible pick. You can really pick anything around it. And NAVI has the chance to pick the Lulu right now. And the thing about Lulu is, when you pick Lulu Olaf, it's so damn powerful. It's incredibly powerful. And also up against the Ziggs, Olaf doesn't care about Ziggs. He can just run away. But instead, they picked the Varus. And you love that Varus pick. I know that's Stress.
So I love Varus. Here, I'm guessing it's just that other ways you anticipate that you'll get like Varus banned away and then likely Orianna or one of the bot lane mages. So you're right, though. I think Lulu's probably going to draw a respect ban right now from Team Dark, at least if they're like thinking things through on like what does the next part of the team fight look like. Navi on the other side, I think jungle is where they can look to maybe ban out the likes of Lee Sin. Maybe, the Kha'Zix is going to go as well as the first ban. Because Team Dark, this Garen could go mid, could go top, so there are still options available.
Yeah, definitely can. And Team Dark has to ban the Lee Sin, because Lee Sin is such a good pick into the Ziggs. Because Ziggs likes to shoot bombs from the backline, but Lee Sin can deny that by diving the Ziggs. And as a Ziggs, you cannot even run away from a Lee Sin, because when Lee Sin shoots his first ability on you, you jump away with Ziggs, he can just go back to you. So 100% expecting a Lee Sin ban from Team Dark. They actually choose to ban the Aurelia. It's going to be very interesting if they leave Lee Sin open. I feel like that would be a mistake, but they should have a response to it if they decide to leave it open, right?
Yeah, I mean, Navi could very well put that Olaf up into the top lane with Gragas. As you said, that flexibility allows him to just kind of go wherever he needs to. Irelia, kind of similar principle is that he's going to jump on. That means Lulu and Lee Sin are available. Yes. So Navi could just go Lulu here and say, okay, we've got Lulu Olaf. Lulu Varus is a fine lane too. And it's Graves that got banned away. They're going to do something completely different and pick up a team fighting mid laner.
Yeah, they're not going to pick Lulu right now, I believe, because they have a Varus. Lulu, like, even though Lulu Varus is fine, it will struggle against the Rakan lane. But again, we don't know where the Gragas is going. I really love this draft from Navi because Team Dark doesn't know who to counter in which lane, because Navi can do whatever they want. And they also picked the Diana, which is an incredibly powerful team fighting pick. And Navi really has the team fight composition right here. Even though Team Dark has the Ziggs, Navi has such a strong team fighting composition with the Gragas, Olaf, Varus, Diana. They just have such powerful picks in a team fight. And I'm just very interested to see what their last pick is going to be. Because honestly, I cannot predict it. Oh, now it should be Lee Sin. Like, they pick Camille, Lee Sin counters that as well. This should be a Lee Sin, right?
Yeah, and then you'd be looking at Gragas going to the support lane, Olaf going to top, with Diana rocking from mid. I mean, yeah, you're right in the fact that there's a lot of counters here when it comes to being able to kind of deny a lot of what Camille does. One other thing is, like, I feel like Navi's early game fights are so much stronger. So it's going to be Gragas top, Thresh Varus bot lane with Olaf jungle and Diana in the middle lane. So Navi, I think, have a little bit earlier fighting when you look at it. Like, Varus comes into the game with his damage much earlier than Ziggs. Diana can deal damage just off one item in team fights. Like, you can start getting that damage really early. And then Olaf, if you don't kill him quickly, he gets a massive spike in the ability to kind of run through a fight and deal damage. So for me, I'm looking at Team Dark and thinking that if things start going wrong, this could be a tough game for them to hold through the early and mid game fights.
Yeah, definitely. But Team Dark is very likely going to struggle against this Navi lineup because they've picked the Thresh, which means Xiao is going to be on the Thresh. And we've seen him play, right? He likes to roam around a lot. And he's picked champions like the Rakan before, where he's been roaming around a lot as well. So if he's able to land those hooks, he'll be able to actually gank out lanes constantly. So I'm expecting Navi to do these aggressive rotations with Xiao on the Thresh, because they actually decided to pick the Thresh over the Lee Sin, which would have been a really good picker. So it's going to be interesting to see how Navi decides to play around that Thresh pick. And I feel like they're going to make it work.
Yeah, I think when we look at that jungle matchup, like opting away from the Lee Sin, it kind of shows us how strong Olaf is kind of respected at the moment. We saw so many bans now. You put it up for a player like Vex, who he can be that primary carry of Na'Vi. Like, even if he's not playing carry champions, we've seen him have those performances where he just goes off and puts a lot of the team's responsibilities on his back. Now he's got the Olaf that he can carry on. And I'm with you a little bit on some of the aspects of, like, Olaf Lulu is a whole lot better of a carry than like Olaf Thresh, Olaf with some of the other champions. So I think there is a little bit more reliance on the rest of Na'Vi to help him out with picking up kills in the team fight. Team Dark, I think, have a lot of work to do when it comes to getting some of these fights started. Camille's got to get that action going, then land the Ziggs damage. But we know Team Dark have been able to bounce back with this team fighting style. It's a little bit more scrappy this time around, and we're on to the Rift for game number 1 between Team Dark and Na'Vi. And we've got our Garen, we've got our Gragas in the game. This is 2 beefy men up in the top lane who are just going to smack each other back and forth. And I'm going to guess nothing's going to happen. That's one of the things about Gragas, is he just sustains so well that really it's kind of hard to get any kills onto him.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems like Vi is choosing to go for the tankier Gragas, as he's picked up the Grasp of the Undying Rune. So he didn't pick up Electrocute, which would have indicated full AP Gragas, which I would have loved to see. But it kind of makes sense, right? Because you have the Olaf with no Enchanter support. And when Olaf uses his ultimate, the Ragnarok, he loses armor and magic resist. So you're kind of going to need some of your other tanks to dive in as well. Because otherwise the Olaf is just going to get destroyed. Even though he becomes unstoppable, doesn't mean he becomes unkillable. So I do kind of like the approach from Vi here, going for a more tankier build, and I want to see him more in the front line while playing this Gragas to be able to buy enough time for the Olaf.
I think that's a great point. I think we also look at the lineup. I'm not a mid laner myself, so it looks like looking towards a little bit more on the health side of things for Yeku on this Diana. So I guess going more towards Rod of Ages, that kind of setup where again it might be standard, but I avoid mid lane like the plague because I don't want 3 people coming into my lane and then stealing my farm. I'm like, I want to be the one coming and stealing farm.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to look at Team Dark's rotation right there. Are they going to go for that kill? They could be waiting in that bush and kill the Gragas. Please do it.
Sync is already up here. Look at how like in tune Fi is on this matchup. He's like, if I just barrel this bush, I can at least understand whether there's somebody here. And now he's gonna have to try and play around this dive. Body slam doesn't connect. Yeku is here. They're gonna back themselves away from this. But really well played by Fi.
Yeah, definitely. And it's actually 201 that's roaming around. I was talking about Xiao doing it, but it's actually 201 that went for the kill. And I like the idea, but the counter was even better. Navi was totally ready for it, right? Like his teammates told him, be careful. Vi was careful. He threw a barrel in the bush just to be sure. And he saw the enemy. Just amazing counterplay by Navi right there. And let's take a look at Rakan's build right there. What is that item stress? That's a burst item that he's going for.
That's a Hextech Revolver, if it's still called the same thing as PC. So, like, is this going to be one of those AP Rakan attempts? So Body Slam connects in the top lane. I think they're going to back away because Elegy is level 5, Fee is level 4, so it doesn't have that explosive cask available. Bot lane, there is the Rakan falling for first blood. Doesn't have that extra survivability from a tank setup. It, like... I'm going to ask you what Juicy's doing about this Rakan build. Maybe you have some insight into it, or are we both confused?
No, I don't think this is going to work. I mean, unless we get surprised, Rakan is going to be way too squishy with this build because the item just doesn't provide a lot besides of that burst damage. And is he going to finish off the tier 3 item, or is he just going to stick with this item? Because this is mostly an early game item, the Hextech Revolver, because it deals flat AP damage, so it doesn't scale into the late game. So he either has to fully finish an item, or he just keeps this for the early game and then sells it in the late game. I'm not quite sure what his plan is, but it's an aggressive item, right? We're going to be expecting some very aggressive gameplay from 201 because he's got on the Hextech Revolver, but I don't believe in it. Let's get proven wrong, Stress.
I think one of the things like that Varus kind of is okay with people doing is like when you have to engage front on and you know that the enemy is going to force engages, Chains of Corruption is so much easier to hit. So I wonder whether that's going to undo Team Dark as this goes on. But Elegy will get blasted back into the rest of the lineup. But there's Vex not being tanky enough in these early game fights. I said it was going to go to Navi, but it's actually Team Dark that pick up 2. There's some of that damage from Rakan.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? The Olaf is going to struggle without an Enchanter support, especially up against that Garen, who just has that ultimate to go right through everything. So we saw Vex doing a pretty good engage, but it just didn't work out because he got destroyed. And right here, Navi is actually trading a Rift Herald for a turret, which is good. Like, this is the best thing that Navi could have done. And if we look into this replay, Vex actually did have a good engage, right? He dealt quite a lot of damage to Elegy, but it's just not enough. Even though Vi helped him, all Elegy had to do was just use his ultimate, deal the true damage to Olaf, and he's dead. And then also one mid on the Ahri, roaming around super fast. That's what Ahri is good at, because she can roam around super fast, push out waves, just really playing their composition to their power. So both teams making the right decisions right here, but I feel like Navi still gets out ahead because they have a stronger late game champion, late game composition. And the reason that they have it is because, first of all, they have 2 Rod of Ages and a Mana Mune. These are late game scaling items. And their champions scale better into the late game compared to the Ahri, for example, and the items that Rakan has chosen to build Stress.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on that Rakan item build as we go through the game. Bottom lane, as normal, has swapped towards the mid lane. This is exactly why we see Varus and Ziggs a lot in the meta right now. I think that may have even played into it, is that like Ahri had not rotated bot lane to kind of catch the wave that Yeku had pushed out. So they gave them the freedom to pull around to that Rift Herald and make that play. So it's been one turret apiece. First tower gold, I believe, as you said, went over to Navi on the way that they were pushing out the bottom lane. Now we're looking towards the Dragon as LG was thinking about moving up there. But look, there's the Proto Belt forward, trying to get any crowd control they can to stick. One mid still healthy enough to output damage, but will go back in. Body Slam is going to connect from Fee in order to take one down. And now into the back lane goes Yeku. Has picked up that Rakan, picked up a second kill for himself as well. And this is where Navi have been able to split the pack. Camille Hextech Ultimatum is going to do enough to put Show into the ground and maybe escape. No, flash forward off the piercing arrow is enough for Hydro to pick it up. And that's a convincing teamfight win for Navi.
Yeah, what a beautiful team fight by Navi. And as I especially want to highlight Yeku's moves right there. He dived the backline, absolutely destroyed the Ziggs. And if we look into this replay, Vex with a beautiful engage, just totally dodging out the charm that he got from Ahri. Mario with an amazing Ziggs ultimate, but it was not enough. As you can see, Yeku is just diving the backline. And what is Rakan going to do? There it is. Yeku with his ultimate killing off both Rakan and the Ziggs in the backline. And then sure, Camille came in and got a kill right here. But it doesn't really do much because they lost the Dragon, they lost the team fight, and they're losing to a composition that outskills them into the late game.
Yeah, Navi, really impressive from Yeku there. Like, I was watching him that entire fight. He knew he has one target to find, and as long as he trades for Mario and even gets a second kill from it onto Juicy, like, that's everything that Diana has to do there. Take out the primary carry and survives. It is perfect for that fight. Now Yeku is even going to go aggressive onto Elegi in that top lane and not able to pick up the kill as the rest of Team Dark are pushing down in that bottom lane. But maybe there's an opportunity to find a kill onto Mario here if he plays a little bit riskily around middle lane. The rest of the team are regrouping though, so Navi can't quite punish off that middle lane from Mario being solo.
Yeah, and now the problem of Team Dark's composition is, as we can see, Rakan is actually not finishing off the item. He's just staying at a Hextech Revolver, but it's going to take him a long time to finish an item, and he's not going to have an enchantment. And here they try to do an engage, but it doesn't really work. But this Rakan is going to be hella squishy stressed.
Yeah, it will do, as this fight does start, and one mid already drops low. They weren't able to get a satchel charge into place as that first kill has gone down from the side of Na'Vi. They couldn't layer that damage that you've seen time and time again with Ziggs, where it's like Rift Herald into satchel charge, now into the rest of the fight. In goes Juicy, though. Wow. That's a perfect overlap of damage from the Ziggs ultimate. Now there's work to be done by Yeku, though. There are low health targets if they can find them and buy enough time maybe for Vex, but they can't quite connect on the ability one from Diana, so can't jump into the fight. Na'Vi took a lot of damage on that trade, but did hold their tower.
Yeah, Team Dark did the perfect combination that they have to do, right? Rakan engaging with his ultimate, and then boom, Mario with the Ziggs ultimate. This is basically going to be their winning combination. This is what they have to do. And as we look into the replay, Elegi doing a great job tanking up the damage, but then 201 with the beautiful engage, which we're going to be seeing right here, and then instantly followed up by the Ziggs ultimate and the Garen ultimate, but we have no time to talk about that.
Yeah, that hook didn't quite land, and they're not able to punish Fee now. If they can land damage, maybe it's enough. They've already bought the tower, or at least the time for the tower to be fallen in the middle lane, as that Ziggs satchel charge did finally complete onto the turret. From here, though, Na'Vi poking around in a fight, but they're taking a lot of health when it comes to, like, a lot of damage from Mario off these Ziggs bombs in the back line. Na'Vi already half health. That's a rough spot for them to be in, because we've seen the damage that Mega Inferno Bomb from Mario does in these fights. So they have to be careful that Juicy, who is playing under the name 201 in this game, if Juicy does land that charm again on multiple people, that's going to be just the team fight over in a split second.
Definitely. I want to highlight the dragon that Navi has taken, though, which is the Ocean Dragon, which helps a lot in those sustained fights, but a fight is going to be happening.
Oh, Juicy's gone in. He only found one, though, and that might not be enough, as there's the Mega Inferno Bomb. Does a little bit of damage, but it's Yeku that also doesn't find it off the Pale Cascade. Can't quite get the damage down. Looking to get back out of Show.
So
He's going to flash back out. Piercing Arrow from a distance is not enough to pick up kills. Everybody is so low. Na'Vi are going to back away as a Team Dark.
Yeah, so what I was going to talk about is I want to highlight the dragon that Navi is taking, because in this scenario, that may even be the strongest dragon that they could have potentially taken in this game. Because in the late game, everyone is not going to be as squishy anymore, and it's going to be a poking game, right? We have a Ziggs and we have a Varus. These are both poking champions, but the problem for Team Dark is they don't have any vampirism, and Navi has that 8% Omni Vamp that they get from the dragon. So if you have poking from both sides, Navi is actually going to be healing up, while Team Dark is not going to be healing up. So it's going to be interesting to see how those late game team fights are going to be playing out.
Yeah, well, we might have another mid-game team fight to start this one off, though, as we are setting up for Infernal Dragon. One mid trying to get into the fight. My eyes are on Juicy, though. They've blast coned into the backline. Mega Inferno Bomb deals damage, but the first kill's already gone down onto Elegy. That's a perfect knockup, though, out of Juicy as he lands on 3. Yekyu tries to use the ultimate to make it work for himself, and the low health bars on Navi are making this so difficult. Protobelt forward to put the damage down and pick up the kill, and now Vex, that charm had to land, and it does from one mid. They couldn't allow Vex to run through that fight. The Dragon did not get finished by either team. Both are going to back away.
Oh, what an incredibly close series we have right here. Just both teams dealing so much damage in this composition. Aleki went in, but he went in a little too early. He just wanted to deny that dragon, but he went in way too early. And if he had waited a little longer for his team to back him up, he may have been able to buy a little more time, because the Mega Inferno Bomb was beautiful by Mario right there. And here, beautiful engage by the Rakan as well. He's really fitting well into this composition. And then Navi is desperately trying to hold off, getting some kills, but I feel like Team Dark is coming out on top on this fight stress. Team Dark is doing a great job.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't seen Vex settle into this game. Like, so many games for Navi are like Vex running away with it, but this Olaf hasn't got rolling in the game yet. We haven't seen one of those fights where Vex just eats through the backline. This has been so much more about Yekyu landing damage in the team fights after Hydro has put it down. And that's just not the Navi that we've seen be as successful. So I wonder whether they'll be able to adapt that as Show does get pushed away. Hang on, Yekyu's actually found a kill onto one mid, and that's immediately going to start Navi's dragon attempt once again.
Where was one mid? He just got caught off. He died for free, and this is going to be horrible for Team Dark. Are they going to try to go for this dragon, or are they going to give it for free?
I guess it's going to be Zigzag, but Fee is going to actually put the pressure onto Mario as they were trying to get down that ramp. There's a big amount of damage from that Moonfall, and maybe this is the fight for Vex to get going. Maybe this is the time that we can see that jungle carry come to light. No, he's going to get shut down by Elegy. Elegy now under tower, survives on the tiniest amount of health, but Piercing Arrow is going to deal with 2 of his teammates. And that's going to be another great team fight out of Yekyu. He started it off with a pick on Ari, then manages to pick up more kills, but Navi haven't been able to secure the dragon again.
So Team Dark went way too deep there. Navi should have just secured the dragon first of all, but then Team Dark gave them a free kill on the Ziggs, but Navi should have walked back to the dragon after that. Navi dove way too deep, and even though Yekyu got some kills right there, he died, which gave a shutdown to Team Dark, and they weren't able to finish off the dragon. Now, was that really worth the kills that they got on Team Dark? I don't think so. I think it would have been more worth if they had just stuck to the dragon, take the free kill on the Ziggs, and just take it for you. Right now, they have to fight for the dragon again. And 201 is using a sweeper to sweep it out, so they're going to have the vision advantage as well, Stress.
Yeah, this is kind of like hitting your head against a brick wall at this point. Like, Navi, they've only got 1 tower in this game, and like top lane's been pushing away from them, has been dealing damage to that inner tower. Like, I feel like this Team Dark aren't, as you said, like Team Dark aren't losing enough to make this worthwhile for Navi. But I feel like Navi's composition can only really contest around objectives. They don't really have that side lane split push threat to try and take advantage of things. And I don't know, it's an awkward spot for them to be in. Sync is a little bit far away right now, but he's going to be able to hookshot his way over the wall. You just saw on the mini-map just how far Camille can make it. That's a top lane tower going down in favor of Navi. Just the minions have been able to weather it down, but neither team can actually commit to the dragon. One mid's going to use the charge of the ultimate to try and get forward. Does get some damage down onto Fee, but it's not going to be enough. And I mean, Navi without a fight can't break this mid lane tower, so they need to somehow get the engage they're looking for. Whereas Team Dark, they're going to go for it. There's the charm, lands onto Yekyu, and Yekyu now, oh, that's a brilliant secondary proc on the charm as Navi are getting forced back away from this fight. One mid dives into the backline on Ari, and I think maybe this is the fight that Team Dark were looking for, as Scout is so low, can't really get active in this fight, and that's 2 kills in exchange for 1 in favor of Team Dark.
And honestly, this is just some very one-dimensional gameplay by both teams, and you don't really want to be taking fights like these as Navi, because as you saw, Team Dark was pushing Navi in the mid lane, but Navi doesn't have a turret. They don't have a turret, and if the same had happened to Team Dark, then Navi would have had to dive their turrets and, you know, have a disadvantage in the fight. This is not quite what you want to do on the side of Navi. You know, you wanna push out some other lanes, maybe get some other objectives, or take the enemy jungle. Taking the dragon is not everything. And honestly, Team Dark really playing the situation well, because they had already pushed out the mid lane wave. They can force a fight, right? Like, they're gonna have a massive advantage. But Navi taking a fight in a situation where they really shouldn't take a fight, because they had a severe disadvantage right there, Stress.
Yeah, it's been really difficult for Navi to actually get these fights to work in the way they wanted to. And I kind of anticipated coming into this that the earlier game fights basically were in Navi's favor, but they just haven't gone that way. However, if they can find the connection on to sync, maybe they can make this work. But that's a big Mega Inferno Bomb out of Mario. Now they're going to go back in as Yeku charmed up, blasted down by Elegy, and that main carry has already fallen here. Fee is going to be able to take out Ari, and that's a 1-for-1 trade. But Navi, they're struggling to find these picks in these fights, whereas Team Dark now can look to push out mid and look to maybe take a little bit of damage onto the tower. They've only got 3 minions, 4 minions in front of them. They can't make it work too much more.
Yeah, and if we look into this replay, Navi actually had a brilliant setup, but they all into the Camille. They've used 4 ultimates right there, by the way, just for the Camille. And then right here, they're kind of left with no more ultimates. Ari comes ulting in, Garen comes with his ultimate, and they are able to get those kills, because Navi just didn't have those ultimates available anymore. Navi is just focusing the wrong targets, really. You know, everyone is just going all in on a Camille, while you have a very squishy Rakan, a very squishy Ziggs, and a very squishy Ahri against you. So that's not how you want to be fighting as Navi. I really love how both teams are playing the vision game, by the way. Both teams are placing brilliant wards, but even more brilliant sweepers. As you can see, there are literally like no wards on the map, right? Like, there's only 2 wards on the Baron. Why, you may think that's all because of the sweepers. And both teams are doing a great job with that, Stress.
I mean, I feel like these team fights have been so hard for Navi to get to work around that vision that they've been engaging into chokes, and against the Ziggs, you can't really afford to do that. And on top of that, I want to just say that one mid, I think, has found a charm on Yeku 3 fights in a row. Looks for another one, forced out the stasis. This time they disengage using the Gragas ultimate, but the bomb looked like it was about to hit into the backline. Yeku's ultimate whiffs. They don't quite get what they need from it, and now Fee is dropping low, and Yeku trying what he can to dart around the fight, get any damage down, but Ziggs has already picked up Fee. Yeku's down, Scow is down as well, and that's going to be the Zhonya's. The stasis coming out from Sync. Low health bars on the side of Team Dark, but they've already taken down 3 members of Navi.
Yeah, yet again, Team Dark doing a great job. And I want to highlight, though, even though I hate to say it, but Yakui has filled multiple ultimates already in multiple fights. And see, the problem is, Yaku is the one that's super ahead in Navi. He's like 3,000 gold ahead of anyone. And if we look at this replay, I want to be highlighting at what Yaku was actually doing. We had a really good engage by Eligi, first of all. But look at Yaku, he just completely misses out that ultimate right there. And you cannot afford to miss out an ultimate on a Diana when you are the one that's hard carrying the game, right? He's done an amazing job this game, but now he's just not following through with that. He's not doing the carry job that he has to do in these team fights. But I feel that if he's able to hit one big ultimate, Navi may as well just still destroy Team Dark in a team fight.
Yeah, that's very fair. And I think normally we're very forgiving. Like a lot of the time, an ultimate like that gets flashed away from, or there's some kind of like cooldown traded, and you're like, okay, it's worthwhile. That time, Mario actually just walked away. He had his flash
not that ahead anymore, by the way.
He just walks away doing nothing, and that's just not exactly what Yeku is looking for from those fights. I feel like minions have taken more towers in this game for Navi than Navi have taken for Navi, because they took both top lane towers just off minions alone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happens when you have this one-dimensional gameplay all revolved around the dragon, right? Like, you kind of forget the minions, and Navi's minions were indeed able to push out 2 waves. But I want to look at Diana's build and gold right now. She's not even ahead anymore. Like 2 minutes ago, when I was talking about Diana, or 3 minutes ago, she was 3,000 gold ahead of anyone. Now it's only like 500 gold. So that is the effect that it has when you don't hit such an important ability, or basically when you don't do your job properly in a team fight. So the next team fight is going to be a banger, Stress.
Yeah, this is the most ARAM game I think we've had in WREC so far, definitely. Where like neither team looks like they can actually close it. And look, one mid now is going to get not caught by that hook because there's a minion in the way from Scow. And now that means Team Dark are going to try and make the engage happen themselves. The charm lands onto Fee. There's the explosive cast, but the damage damage doesn't quite stick as Na'Vi are desperately trying to get back. That hits 5 people from the Mega Inferno Bomb, and it's all gone wrong for Na'Vi as Elegy is going to run all the way through this fight. Low health bars, and this is dangerous against Avaris. I feel like I've seen this team fight about 17 times this game, but it's going to be Team Dark pushing towards the Mountain Elder Drake from here. So we'll see. It's a rare one for us to actually have when it's the Mountain. And now Team Dark, can they get the damage done? They've peeled back off it. We're going for another fight. It's gone right back into it.
Yeah, definitely. And now the problem is Na'Vi is in a 4 versus 5 situation. Team Dark is missing some HP bars, is missing some mana bars, but they can still quickly go back and try to force a fight because they have to. Yakyu is dead, which is the main carry of Na'Vi. But I want to highlight, if we look into a replay in that fight, that's when I want to highlight why Vex is kind of wrong with picking Olaf with this composition. Because even though they have some other tanks, he is being focused down, and especially by the Garen, right? Like when Vex gets to like 30% HP, Garen is just going to finish him off. Elegi's just always ulted him. And that is honestly what Team Dark has to do. Because the Olaf is going to lose all of his armor and magic. Not all, sorry. Like, he's going to lose the passive armor and magic resist from his ultimate. And that is the problem that Na'Vi has right there. They just don't have a strong enough front line.
Yeah, it really is kind of puzzling. That's a hook landing. Chains of Corruption don't land either, and Hydro is going to have to back away. 21 minutes and that mid lane tower has not fallen. That's a testament to 2 things. One, Team Dark have been really effective wave clearing with Ziggs. Secondly, Na'Vi have done a pretty bad job of pressuring elsewhere around the map other than Dragon. And that means that nobody's been forced out of the middle lane. There's been no way of actually them forcing a fight elsewhere. And these fights are not working for them in the mid lane either. They really are not. Like, Flay lands back onto Elegy, but there's nothing to come. And now Na'Vi are in the choke. Now in goes Juicy on the charm. And this is exactly what Team Dark were looking for. This is the team fight that has happened multiple times this game. And it's worked out even better for Team Dark. Na'Vi going to be routed back under the tower. Stasis from Hydro. He's going to fall 5-0 on the fight. Massive for Team Dark.
And this team fight works now. And the reason that it works now is because Ziggs has reached this late game. This is what we talked about earlier on in the game. The golden combo that they need is the Rakan engaging with his ultimate and then Mario on the Ziggs following it up. That's exactly what they did right there. But now we've reached late game Ziggs, so the Mega Inferno Bomb is going to one-shot them. And Team Dark takes the first game, Stress.
Yeah, Team Dark are going to 1-0 on the series for now. And I feel like Na'Vi just never got into the game. Like, even though, like, Yakyu was ahead on that Diana, these fights were just, like, constantly, like, throwing yourself at the objective and hoping you're going to make it work. Like, this first one around Ocean Drake, this is what they wanted to have happen, but Team Dark reassess and they say, okay, well, we just can't let Mario die. We can't actually be in a situation where this happens again. And then they just hold through the game, and Na'Vi just ran out of options at, like, minute 10.
Yeah, Yakyu did a really, really great job in the early mid game, you know, getting ahead, doing the right thing in the teamfights, hitting those amazing ultimates. But then in the late game, Team Dark was actually able to avoid those Diana ultimates. And, you know, Yakyu did fail a few. But then later on in the game, Mario especially, his positioning has been very, very good. Just avoiding that Diana, you know, flashing out of those ultimates, and then always using his Mega Inferno Bomb after Elegy on the Garen and 201 on the Rakan one thing. Just really Team Dark playing their composition perfectly. Also defending that mid lane turret, as you talked about. They had the compositions for it. Ahri and Ziggs, one of the best minion pushers in the game. And since this was basically an ARAM, you know, they were constantly in the mid lane around the Dragon and the Baron. Team Dark was just able to save that mid lane turret, which basically won them the game.
Yeah, I don't think I recall Na'Vi ever making a play around top or bottom lane in this game at all. It was literally respawn, run out mid, try and fight the dragon. Okay, we lost the fight. Try and run out mid, try and fight the dragon. And I get it, like, their composition doesn't exactly lend itself towards doing that, but like, that's something you at least have got to make an attempt on, right? This is just not working around Dragon, and you've got to try and make a different play.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the macro game was just not that good with this game. And I hate to say it, but I'm expecting more from this team in the next game. Because this was literally an ARAM. Both teams were just constantly playing in the mid lane. It was the right call for Team Dark, but not for Na'Vi. So I'm expecting Na'Vi to come up with some different strategies later on, because they're very good individual players. But their macro game last game was just not, it just didn't work. It just doesn't work against that composition. So the next game is going to be very interesting. And we talked about Yeki, but actually Hydro dealing 35,000 damage on the Varus as well. And on the opposite side, obviously Ziggs dealing the most damage, but also the Ari. Like, really, really good job by Team Darkbite here, but also by Hydro and Yeki.
Yeah, this is kind of like the mark of
Look at that.
an ARAM type game. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, Navi took a few early game leads, but then stalled out, and easily Team Dark, like, they could just see the team fights were going in their way already. And I don't know, it just feels like Navi need, at least today in this series, they need Vex to be one starting fights, and Olaf doesn't do that. Like, Olaf is not a fight starter, he finishes a fight for you. Whereas like Lee Sin, even to some extent like Kha'Zix, can jump on an individual pick and like blow them up immediately. So yeah, I just want to see a little bit of a change out of that jungle role. Let's take a look at our play of the game. There were like 10 jungle fights that all looked identical. Yeah. So let's take a look at which one closed it out. I guess it's the last one.
It's probably going to be the last fight, but let's take a look. So yeah, it's going to be the last one where Elegi just went like head on into the team, and they just like, what am I supposed to say? Look at that.
I mean, what you actually like, I think the criticism that is very, very valid is like, against the Ziggs, you cannot afford to miss those team fights beginnings and then back into a choke. If your second like escape route is back into a choke against the Ziggs who has ult, you're going to lose that team fight every single time.
Yeah. Definitely, and that's exactly what happened. You know, Team Dark went all in with the Camille engaging with her second abilities of slowing everyone to make sure no one can escape. Obviously, Rakan with his full engage, Elegi with the Garen, you cannot do anything. If that happens, it doesn't really matter how ahead you are going to get destroyed. When a 4-item Ziggs throws his Mega Inferno Bomb on 5 people, you know the team fight is probably going to be over.
Absolutely, and that's game 1 over. We told you at the beginning of the day, these series are as close as anything and they could go either way. We'll see when the Team Dark can close it out when we come back for game 2 in 3.5 minutes.
Turn this water into wine. Yeah, you're used to every time. Take these bumps, make them shine. Me, my nasty, make it high. Oh, oh, turn this water into wine. Brave to admit. Afraid if we talk, I'll let it slip.
You ready?
Welcome back to the WREC ARAM Championships, as Game 1 looked like, because that was, I'm just going to say it was a fun game, but the worst macro game we've had of the entire tournament. Like, Team Dogs, I said, I don't need to do anything. Navi just tried to, like, ARAM and force things through Dragon for 20 minutes in a row and ended up falling. It wasn't really the level I was expecting from both of our teams today. I hope we get a change from Game 2.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get a change. There's no way the next game is going to be like this as well, right? Like, the coaches are going to be like, guys, what are you doing? Why are you just constantly playing an ARAM mid lane? Go to the Baron lane, go to the Dragon lane. You don't have to take the Dragons. And this is a thing that players have to understand about Valorant. You don't have to get the Dragons to win the game. You have to play your composition to your win conditions. That's more important than taking the Dragons.
Yeah, and we'll have a look at win conditions and the way that the compositions were built out as we go towards our second draft. But first, we want to check in with Stuart and get his opinion on what was a very strange Game 1.
Thank you very much, Stress. Yes, it was a very, very strange game. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is the draft and the flexibility that Na'Vi had. They picked these flex champions like Olaf, like Gragas, but I want to see something a bit different from Fee. I don't really want to see him on the Gragas. I wanted to see him on these more carry AD bruisers in the Baron lane. It felt like at the end of the draft, Na'Vi were being a bit too flexible. They didn't really know where to go with what champions, because Gragas we don't really see in the Baron lane too much. And then going into the game, the support roams. I have to give a shout out to Juicy this game. His Rakan was incredible. Roaming around the map, he was always on the Baron side of the map, trying to roam around and make their plays, but Show was a little bit, slow on the movement. And then when it came to team fights as well, Juicy was popping off. And the last point, Stress and Hell's already said it, but it's time for ARAM. It was just a constant ARAM battle throughout the entire game. But the main reason I want to mention about the ARAM is that it worked in Team Dark's favor. They got the likes of Camille. They have the Rakan Ziggs combo, which has been very, very strong lately in competitive, and that played well for their favor. So I want to see Navi come up with something a little bit different, not only in the draft, but in the game as well. I want to see them try and get a few towers early on, because in the early game, Team Dark was able to get all 3 outer towers and basically control the game, even though the gold lead was very, very close. That's my key points going into game number 2. I'm really excited to see if Navi can come back. So heading back to Stress and Hells.
Yeah, I think the comment about Rakan Ziggs, we've seen a lot this week in the Purge tournament. There's been a whole bunch of Ziggs and Rakan presence. It was highly prioritized by Team Dark as well. They picked it on their second rotation. So now I want to see, where does the draft go for game number 2? I want to see a playmaker from Vex. I want to see something that can get a fight started. So when they're like, oh, we're out of options, they're like, no, let's just fight somewhere away from this objective and look for a single pick. Maybe that might help Na'Vi look a little bit stronger.
Yeah, we were very confused during the last pick and bans. So we're going to be seeing what's going to happen now. And I feel like we're going to be confused as well, because these teams are surprising us already, right? We talked about it earlier. These are teams with some very surprising drafts. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to be banned and what's going to be picked, because now Navi is on the opposite side from Team Dark, so it's going to change the draft up.
And they've opted into blue side as well, whereas we see a lot of teams opt into red side typically, being able to have that flex. Set going to get banned. That was banned by Navi in the previous game when they were on red side. Yumi banned so far. We saw Fiora ban. We saw a Darius ban. I wouldn't be surprised to see those things maintained as well for this game. And Navi, I like this. They're saying, okay, let's get rid of the Ziggs. Let's remove the priority on that pick. It was too difficult to deal with. I wonder whether that leaves them first picking Varus if it's available.
Yeah, and I thought they would ban out the Rakan, but they actually chose to ban out the Ziggs. But I feel like this still opens up some crazy combos with the Rakan for Team Dark. Team Dark, yet again, sticking with their bans. They're banning away the Fiora, right? Garen banned by Navi, even though they have a first pick, and we know Vibe is super good at the Garen, they actually choose to ban him away. What the hell are they going to be picking instead of the Garen then?
Well, Darius was the last ban, so if it finds itself there, then we look towards the Gragas, the Jace, those kind of picks. The Olaf would be available again if Navi want it. Maybe they feel like getting the Ziggs and the Garen out of the way removes a lot of the trouble that Vex had in the previous game. We could also see the likes of a Kha'Zix. So Darius is available if they want it for the top lane.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it first picked too much outside of some of our players like Acolyte, who are known for their Darius.
Yeah, Acolyte, incredible Darius player. And Team Dark actually chose to ban out the Jax. Seems to be afraid of Vex's Jax. Yeah, I don't really like it. They leave the Jace open, they leave the Darius open, they leave very strong picks like that open. And right here we see the Jace come through from Navi. This is also a very flexible pick. You can play with the Baron lane, mid lane, jungle. Team Dark has no information basically.
Last week in WREC, I felt like Jace had kind of lost a lot of the power, not necessarily from the champion, but from the way that teams were playing around it before. That's going to be a pretty strong 2 champion picks here from Team Dark, picking up the Gragas with the flexibility we talked about a lot in draft number 1, and the Varus. Now that Ziggs is off the board, it's the basically that best mid lane clearing bot lane carry, if you'll catch what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. Don't worry, he's indeed the best mid lane clearing bot lane carry. So here we see the Rakan from Navi, and Rakan is just like one of the strongest supports you can pick in competitive, right? He has that insane ultimate, insane combos, really good roaming potential, and we've seen Shao on this Rakan. We've seen how good he is on the Rakan, and now Navi just has to have some good champions to combo with the Rakan. And I'm looking at Orianna, who can do somewhat similar things as Ziggs, although not quite as much, right? Like Orianna doesn't have that big ultimate. But still, Orianna can do a lot of damage when Rakan fully engages. So it's going to be interesting to see if they actually go for the Camille.
Okay,
again,
so
you know,
likely then Fizz, Jace, Camille jungle
we don't know.
Is one way, yeah.
It can really be anything right there. Like, that's the beauty of Navi's draft right there. And I really like it because, yet again, Team Dark doesn't really know what they're up against. They don't know if they're up against the Camille on the Baron lane. They don't know if they're up against the Camille on the jungle or even the mid lane. Like, that can happen as well. So, honestly, I really like the draft from Navi right here. Now we're going to see some more bans. And I gotta be real honest with you right here. I have no idea what's going to happen in this draft anymore. Like, I've been predicting a lot in this draft and I've been wrong a lot, so I have no idea. I have no idea.
I also like that this draft is like basically flipped from the last game, and like after seeing Team Dark win with this draft, game 1 we were like, ooh, I kind of like what Navi have drafted. They've got a lot of strong picks, and now I'm like, oh, I kind of like what Navi have drafted, even though it's completely swapped over. Like Team Dark have
the opposite,
3 of the exact picks that Navi had. So I wanted to pause on that a moment and just highlight that, you know, sometimes you see a composition work, you're like, ooh, it's completely backwards. Corki taken away from Team Dark. I was actually thinking about that when we were talking about that Orianna. I'm like, okay, what also fills that kind of scaling route that allows you to have damage later on? Morgana, we haven't seen a whole lot since about week 3. She had this big resurgence in that bottom lane and then got banned out a ton, and now teams have dropped her completely. Ari and Diana banned away from Navi, so no mid lane mages there for Qingxi. We'll see whether they go towards the Zed, one of those picks that's a little bit different, or whether Orianna fills that gap. Ooh.
Yeah. Zed, I don't think they're going to pick Zed, especially against an Aurelia, because Aurelia does incredibly well into the Zed because of the damage reduction. I'm expecting some big boom champions. And what I mean with that is burst champions, right? Just like the Ziggs with that ultimate, because you have the Rakan, you have the Camille. Galio was open, by the way, but although Galio is just not the best pick into Team Dark's composition, but he's still open, and he's such a good pick to pick with the Rakan and the Camille. And they actually choose to go for the Darius. Again, I don't expect the Galio, but I'm expecting some big damage champion to come out as last.
So that's likely Jace mid lane, likely for now. Darius top lane, and then Camille running out of the jungle. We'll see what happens with our last pick. I mean, there's a world where it's Jace bot lane, but we don't see it too often. With the timer ticking down, and then it's likely jungle for Team Dark unless it is the Gragas. Okay,
I don't know.
So that's a Nunu for some zone control. So it's a range carry Jace with a lot of weird stuff. I'm just going to let Navi sort themselves out and we'll talk about that in game. And then go, okay, Team Dark,
No.
Likely Gragas
This is not it.
Irelia mid
This is
lane.
not it.
Varus and the Thresh in the bottom lane with Olaf. So this is basically what Team Dark just beat, that Team Dark are now playing. Just with that one little change from Diana to Irelia in middle lane.
I mean, what?
Yeah, I
Navi
know.
is going
I'm
for
just
a
going to let it go.
Full tank composition. They're going for a full tanky composition up against now an Olaf and a Varus who deals percentage HP damage. Dude, are you gonna see the AP Varus? Oh, I would love that. We're not gonna see it, obviously, because it sucks, but that would be so amazing right here. Like, it would actually genuinely work because they're up against some big front lines, right? The Nunu, the Darius, the Camille, and, well, not really the Rakan, but still, it's a melee champion, and then also the Jace. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how Navi plays it out. Again, I had no idea how this draft was gonna go, and yet again, we've been surprised massively by these teams. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to play it out, Stress.
The biggest surprise is having like 2 different jungle champions and 3 potential solo lane champions that like overlap in a very weird way, and no traditional bot lane carry. So, I mean, I don't really know what to expect out of Navi here. I have to assume that they practice this in the same way that Team Dark were the team that brought out, something different last time. I kind of wonder, and I'll put this out there here, I wonder whether the nameplates are swapped. We had that a couple of weeks ago where Stuart and I came out of a draft thinking like, oh, this has gone crazy. Because Team Dark, I wouldn't put this past. Like a composition that looks a little bit weird. Because we had the Amumu support from them. We saw some different stuff last week with the Ahri. When we load into game, I think we're going to have this a little bit better understood, but definitely this was not a draft that I was looking for from Navi in any way. Like this does not resemble Navi's compositions that they've played in the first 4 weeks of play.
I don't know how they're going to make it work, but it's Navi, right? Even though this first game was a bit messy, Navi is an incredibly good team. So it's going to be very interesting to see what their plan is behind this competition and how they're going to pull it off. Again, I don't know how, but that's why we're here, right? We're going to be commentating on it, and we're going to be surprised, and you, the viewer, is probably also going to be surprised by this next game.
Yeah, this is one of these games where I'm like, I am so glad I don't have to analyze this ahead of time.
Yeah, wow.
I don't have to predict anything. I mean, we can look at some basic things where it's like Nunu Ultimate normally has zone control, but Olaf doesn't really care about that. His Ragnarok gets popped and he runs right through. On the side with the Darius, like Darius can always clean up a fight. Olaf might struggle in the same way that we just saw it in game 1, where like Darius is going to get into that execute damage, chop him down, and then reset through the fights. So it's a similar situation that I'm not sure how this Olaf composition is going to work if they cannot get the team fights to get started properly.
But the thing they have in their advantage now, though, is they don't have that big damage that I was talking about up against that Darius. So if somehow the Darius is able to survive for a longer time in this team fight, that true damage ultimate is going to destroy the lineup from Navi. It's going to destroy it because it does true damage. It doesn't care about how tanky you are, because it does true damage. So again, I don't feel like this Navi composition is going to work. I feel like this draft is going to be in the favor of Team Dark, but now let's see the execution of it as well. And what's going to happen? How are these teams going to play? And I feel like it's going to be even more interesting to see the macro game of these teams, right? Because last game was basically lost by Navi because of their macro game. They didn't know how to play against the composition from Team Dark. So let's see how they're going to change up things in this game, Stress.
I love that. Like last game, we couldn't find a way to win against the composition of Team Dark. Now let's come back with this crazy composition that Team Dark have no idea how to play against either. And let's just like blow things all out of the water. We are shortly going to get into game, I hope, as we are just experiencing a slight pause before the game, which means I don't have the revelation of like who's going in what lane. I think there's so much to discuss in this. I think that the safe ones, I imagine Jace is going down into the bottom lane. I know that for instance, Hydro has played it before. Stuart is they're pinging me about it. I know he's been casting 1,000,001 games this week. So there's always something that slips through the net. Team Dark versus Navi, game number 2 of the series. It is in fact Navi that have drafted this composition that is like balls to the walls. It's Darius mid, Camille top, Jace, Rakan in the bottom lane with the Nunu jungle. Got it.
By the way, we do still have Mario on the Varus. It's not Jinx, it's not the other player. We still have the same composition from Team Dark. So indeed, it's the Olaf Baron lane It's the Graga's jungle from the Marco. I cannot talk.
Oh.
Something is happening. Ooh,
Yeah,
never
Flay
mind.
came through from Juicy in the bottom lane. Now the damage on the back end from Mario is going to put damage onto Scow, who will use the Honey Fruit and heal up. Now we get to watch Hydro's Jace.
Yeah, so indeed, Olaf in the Baron lane, which I like actually. And then on the opposite side, we have Camille in the Baron lane, Nunu in the jungle. Makes sense. And Darius mid lane.
Yeah. Don't know how I feel about that into the Aurelia, but we'll have to watch. This is typically a solo queue Baron lane matchup instead of a mid lane. We'll have to keep an eye on how Yeku actually plays this out. Not really a pick that we've seen Yeku on here in the WREC too much of. And then Nunu always is kind of like that interesting pick who's now going to snowball his way into middle lane. Apprehend gets flashed away from, so good kind of burning of those cooldowns. Now Vex is so low. Nunu early on has to flash away. In comes Scout, gets the knockup for the first blood. That's going to be one mid dropping. There's Navi. Make it work early game for him.
Yeah.
Fee is going to be able to pick up Elegy, flashes into the bush, drops the vision. Olaf is so low. It's gone so wrong. Oh, and mid lane there's another kill.
No.
Game's gone crazy already.
No way. That is so incredibly sad for Vi right there. And here they're just desperately trying to kill Elegy. He just pops the Ragnarok to escape. But no way was Elegy able to get that kill. He was totally losing that fight. But then he was just waiting for that true damage third ability. And then boom, he destroyed Vi right there. So if you look into this replay, actually, 201 did a really good job roaming around to the mid lane very early, which got them disadvantage. But they were sadly unable to get a kill on Vex. He was able to escape, and then Shao comes in as a savior, right? He came a little late, but enough about that. Let's look at his replay. Just look at that. Beautiful flash by Elegy, getting out of that hook shot, and then healing up by attacking minions, because Olaf's second ability heals him up. But just wow.
Yeah, now Fee having a hook shot out again as Juicy, who is playing under the name 201 in this game, has roamed up towards the top lane. We heard Stuart's points to watch for this was one of them being Juicy and his roams, and having the impact already in this game didn't really work in the mid lane the way that they were wanting it to, as it was Scow that picked up that first kill of the game in mid, but still, you never know where Juicy's going to end up. He's kind of just like all over the map this entire time, and it's going to be both supports roaming up towards top side. This time, Hextech Ultimatum is going to keep Olaf in place. Fee nearly drops from it, and are we having a carry Rakan performance here? Second kill over to Scow for the side of Navi. They really would like that gold on the carries, and it's Yeku that's in a little bit of trouble in the middle lane. No flash, no barrier, no chance of getting out of there. That's 2 kills now for Team Dark.
Yeah, I really love Shao's approach in this game. Just doing an absolutely amazing job, right? He has 2 kills and 1 assist. And he basically has 100% kill participation. He is taking a better approach to building Rakan, I would say, than 201 did in the first game. Even though 201 did amazing in the first game, right? Like, don't get me wrong. He absolutely hard carried that game. But his build just didn't allow him to do that in the early game. But then this build, where you go for the Rod of Ages... Where you go for the Rod of Ages, skills incredibly well into the late game. It's going to make you tanky, going to give you more damage. It's just going to make you stronger in the late game.
Yeah, eventually that will, of course, have charged up. I'm going to be honest, as an AD carry main, I look at support builds and I'm like, sure, you do whatever you can to make me do better. That'll do for me. I completely leave supports up to their own devices. It's when they build full AP that I'm like, please don't do that. You're another carry in this game.
He's not just supporting his ADC, which is he's not supporting his ADC only, which is a Jace, by the way. He's supporting everyone. We're gonna have a team fight right here.
Yeah, Fee is looking to go aggressive here. Already half health though, and there's the Nunu. Here's, however, when Nunu can have some presence if that absolute zero can get challenged, but look at how low they've already dropped on the side of Navi as Yeku gets a little bit of a heal, and Hydro picks up the first kill. Beautiful knockup into the parallel. The ultimatum is going to keep him in place. 2 kills already for Hydro, but look, here's the turnaround for Team Dark. They've been able to get the damage down from 1 mid, and they're going to get onto this Rift Herald.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. Navi had a beautiful engage, but they just don't have the damage to kill off the they don't have the damage to kill off the Olaf as easily. It's just I don't see how Navi is supposed to win this. Maybe through the Darius, because actually I really like the Darius. Like, I wanted to say this for a long time throughout this game, but only now I've had a chance. It seems like I actually don't have a chance because this is the replay. This is the replay.
This is a replay of that fight that just happened.
Yeah, so yeah, the replay, as we can see, Navi had a beautiful engage right there. But again, they were just unable to kill off the Olaf fast enough. And sure, they did. But still, like, even with that insane Rakan engage, even with the insane explosive casket, they were still not winning this fight. And that should truly show you how Team Dark's composition works very well against Navi's composition. So what I finally was going to say Darius is actually a really good move to put in the mid lane. Darius counters Irelia, and he can very easily hold his ground in the mid lane.
Oh, they're going to go aggressively on Sophie in this bottom lane as Elegi will get locked up. Does have Ragnarok available, so we'll back away. And Navi actually misstepping here. There's a push onto the middle lane. They don't have anybody there to clear the tower. Hydra was pushing top lane. I actually think mid lane is so much more valuable here than top lane.
Yeah, and Team Dark doing the same thing, right? Like, sure, they lose the Baron lane turret, but they don't care. They take the mid lane turret, which we saw in the last game how much impact it had, and they took the dragon. Totally worth for Team Dark right here. And again, I feel like Navi is just out of their place in this game, because actually they are not right now. Ooh, they were gonna counter this dive by Team Dark, but Team Dark had the wards to see Navi coming. So that's why Team Dark is not going, by the way, in case you were asking, like, how the hell did Team Dark know Navi was coming? Their vision game is amazing this game. Look at all those wards.
Yeah, I feel like Team Dark have really done a good job this week of ramping up their performance in game. Like, I felt like Navi were favored in this series, but the more I'm watching, the less confident I am that Navi can actually look to come back in this series. I feel like Team Dark basically taking the composition from Navi and saying, well, this is how you actually play it out, because they haven't just thrown everything down mid and tried to look for objectives. They actually have been trying to look for plays elsewhere so far.
And interestingly, it's the full AP Gragas on Team Dark side. And last game we saw a tank Gragas, and now we're seeing a full AP Gragas. But a full AP Gragas against a full tank composition stress? I mean, like, that's not the power of full AP Gragas. Full AP Gragas is there to one-shot squishies. He's not there to one-shot tanks, because he can't.
Yeah, that's fair. The damage may very well run out from that Gragas once he's used his entire, rotation of abilities. There's not really too much more to output. I think the Varus also eventually runs out of damage. I think we've seen Mario have really good performances on these carries that maybe don't necessarily scale as well, but still we'll see damage down. That's a kill easily picked up from Navi. Finally, they've realized there's a lane other than the mid lane, and they pick up a kill on the side lane.
There we go, indeed. Finally, they realized there is another lane, and yeah, they picked up that free kill, and it feels like Team Dark is being caught a bit off guard, because they're not expecting it since they played that last game, which was a total ARAM, right? Like, I really like seeing this from Navi, where they're also making plays on the side lanes, right? We saw Xiao roaming to the Baron lane, roaming to the bot lane, and just Xiao, right? Like, he's constantly roaming around, getting those kills, and Vax here as well, right? Getting that kill on the area right there, free kill, and they may as well be able to push a turret on that bot lane as well.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. If that type of play happens again, though, I don't know about throwing out the Nunu ultimate. I don't know how necessary that was.
Yeah, it was a bit of an overkill.
I'm like, if you use that and then get forced into a team fight, that could very well be problematic. Obviously, that's a very hypothetical thing, as Hydro was forced to flash out in the middle lane. And one of the problems with Jace is he can't clear the wave in the way that Varus does. Yes, he has damage, and Scout is going to go in, but this is a 3 versus 4. There's nobody really from Navi in position. And there's the explosive cask is going to take out a low health support on the side of Navi. And now, Rift Herald is coming up. This is exactly the timing that Team Dark were looking for to win a fight and prevent any kind of contest now from Navi.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to highlight the pick on one mid again, which is the Irelia. He just gets countered by the composition of Navi. And I feel like that is one thing that Navi has done a great job at, because Camille with the true damage shreds right through the shield of Irelia. Camille with her ultimate can stop the Irelia, right? Nunu can stop the Irelia. Darius counters, right? They just have some good picks into that Irelia. Irelia cannot freely dash around. And I feel like sure, Navi has a good draft against some of those champions, but if you look at the big picture, it's probably still not going to be enough, Stress.
Yeah, I look at the way that this game is playing out, and Navi at least are playing a lot better around other objectives this time around. They've lost the Rift Herald now from that fight going down. It was traded in exchange for some gold now from Fee, where he picks up the bot lane tower is going to recall. And what that can do basically is if they can transfer that into a team fight win now against Team Dark around Dragon, then it'll pay off. Otherwise, they're going to end up losing turrets basically from this Rift Herald and potentially end up in a worse situation. So Navi kind of prioritizing the current objectives over the future ones. That's a recall out from Vex. A little bit late, but does pick up a dead man's plate. Should be able to kind of waddle his way to the dragon in enough time and pick up that snowball. So Nunu does clear the jungle quite quickly to get there. They're going to be able to at least spot one mid in bottom lane and make a different decision, but Navi not quite set up for this in the way that they would like to be.
Yeah, and Team Dark also has a Rift Herald, which they could just place in the bot lane to get a free turret. But I feel like Team Dark really wants to defend this mid lane turret. That is the priority right here. As I said, they're going to be placing the Rift Herald in the bot lane, but there is a team fight.
Fee's going to find Sync. Sync gets blasted out with the explosive cask. That's the downside of playing Camille into Gragas. Hook shot over the wall. Doesn't quite land in the way that they're looking for from Fee, but into the backline goes Yeku. They just want to focus down one target as one mid has forced the stasis. Absolute Zero is going to deal damage as it pops. But look, there's still damage on the back end from Team Dark, and Na'Vi have not been able to do enough up front. If Fee can get back into the fight, they can clean this up. Na'Vi weather the storm and make sure that they shut out Team Dark with an ace in exchange for 2 before the dragon.
There we go, Navi. I love the fact that Vi went for the engage right there. And the reason that I absolutely love that is because this time, they're not taking a fight in a lane where they have a disadvantage, right? Like in last game, they took a fight in the mid lane. Now they're taking a fight in the bot lane. And as you can see, Team Dark doesn't have a turret this time. So as you can see, Team Dark is trying to run away, but they cannot because they don't have the turret. And that's ultimately what granted Navi the advantage. Well, they're equal, but basically that's what gave them the advantage to win this fight. Because Vex with the beautiful Nunu ultimate right there. And here, you know, we see Hydra with a double buff engaging, just beautifully played by Navi right there. And the reason that they won this team fight was because they fought on an equal lane. They didn't fight on that mid lane where Team Dark can just run under that turret. And again, it indeed seems like Navi learned a lot from that last game.
Yeah, Na'Vi really utilizing Fee's ability with hookshot to close distance really quickly. What it meant was like Mario was still coming out of mid lane by the time they started that engage. He was there for the end, but you know, even with Thresh Lantern, it wasn't quite quick enough to be able to save the single target. And this time Na'Vi's teamfights are working a little bit better. They've managed to now get themselves a 4,000 gold lead, and they're trying to pull that pressure up into the top lane. The biggest thing about that, even though they got the dragon, that's big on its own right with that Cloud Drake, cracking that mid tower makes it a whole lot harder now for Team Dark to be able to control the game in the way they did in game 1. 20 minutes passed and Na'Vi had never threatened that mid lane tower. This time Na'Vi flash apprehend in the top lane. Mario forced to flash out. Lantern was there, but he couldn't get onto it in time. Aurelia ult's going to go out. Chains of Corruption go out as well. And Na'Vi, a lot has been used from both sides in this fight. Into the backline comes Sync, and they're going to try and find damage out onto Hydro. The hook does not land. That's going to be a disengage from both sides.
Yeah, and right here, it's the opposite. Navi has the complete advantage over the map now. If we look at the wards, Navi has wards everywhere. They have wards everywhere. And as you said, they pushed out that mid lane turret, which they really had to do, right? Like, that's what truly was holding them back, and it's not anymore. So right now, Navi can just play around the Baron very easily. Use a few sweepers, sweep out any wards, and just wait in bushes for Team Dark. And they can catch out Team Dark. They have the right composition for it. They have a lot of CC, and destroy them. So the way that the game is looking right now, if Navi plays it correctly, and as you can see, they are indeed sweeping out those jungles. I don't like the fact that Xiao is sweeping out the right side jungle, though. I feel like it's more valuable to sweep out the left side because there is a Baron right there. They can just wait in bushes and surprise them. We've seen it work many, many times before, right? Like, even a team like WREC, Navi was doing this against WREC. They were forcing away important abilities like the Ziggs ultimate just to get vision. And that is what Navi needs to be looking at right here, to just clear out all the vision around the Baron and surprise Team Dark.
Yeah, Na'Vi trying to push up on mid now. Again, a Sync is going to be able to dodge out. Does get knocked up, and Fee, ooh, Chains of Corruption again doesn't quite land in the way that Mario is looking for. It doesn't connect with anybody. And again, Team Dark using at least one ultimate was in exchange for Fee's ult too. So now both teams are going to back away. I think Na'Vi are a little bit scared as well, though, after the first game of trying to engage so many times and not getting it to land. Now they're like, ooh, I don't really want to overextend, because if we do, this is last chance for them. If they lose this game, they're out.
Team Dark somehow, some way was able to get the Rift Scuttler, actually. So now Navi doesn't have that advantage anymore, where they can just relax it near the Baron, because Team Dark will see you now because they have the Rift Scuttler. So very, very good job by Team Dark, somehow being able to get the Rift Scuttler. And if we could see the builds right here, I would love to see whether or not Vi has a teleport. Because if he has a teleport, then this is a very big power move for him to make by pushing out that Baron lane. Because if he has a teleport, he can just teleport to Baron, pushing out the Dragon lane, not the Baron lane. And then he can teleport to his team if he wants to.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a look at the items as we head into our next fight, as Fee has backed away. 30 seconds on the Dragon. Fee pushed out the bottom lane. It's going to give him a little bit of vision up front, but he might be caught now. Was taking the Krugs, now dropped very, very low. About a quarter of the health remains. Going to have to back away. Was looking to recall anyway. I'm guessing he was so close to an item breakpoint that he wanted to recall. Yeah, gets a Joram's Fist, and that's not the full item that they were looking for. I'm guessing is that's damage down onto one mid on this Aurelia. Is going to force him away from the engage. I want to watch Scow as he's trying to get in on this really wide flank angle. Is he trying to just wait for Team Dark to be around the corner, as Fee is going to land some damage down onto Sync. They're finally forced to use the ultimatum. Change the Corruption are going to lock on multiple members, forcing out Stasis. And here comes the Darius Yeku into the backline as one mid is going to fall. Yeku holding two as he's already got 2 kills in this fight. Vex looking to snowball down onto Mario. It was Mario day yesterday. It's not Mario's day today, as it's a kill onto the AD carry. 4 members of Team Dark are dead. Navi going to try and push through, maybe look for this first inhibitor of the game.
Yeah, Navi doing such a great job taking that fight, right? Like, they have so much information on vision on Team Dark. Team Dark just walking blindly into the jungle, and now they're just going to finish the game.
Yeah, they can. I think with the minions they have, they're going to look to take this out. And just like game 1, it looked like Team Dark was stabilizing a bit, but Navi this time win one fight, this time end it, and we're at a 1-on-1 series.
Wow. It's over. It's over.
I
actually thought Team Dark was going to win this.
Okay.
It's crazy how just Navi was able to completely turn that around. We kind of expected that, but honestly, after seeing the first game, I didn't think Navi was going to pull it off, but they did. They learned from that first game. They did a really, really good second game, and the third game is going to be a banger to us.
Yeah, this has been a very weird series. Game 1 had like no macro. Game 2 had like some very weird compositions and just like fights like this early game that went back and forth. I feel like Team Dark, there were a couple of points in the game where they could have turned it back around, but these fights, there was just too much health on the side of Na'Vi to eat through with these bruises that after that bottom lane fight, this one that we're going to watch where they got aced, I don't know whether Team Dark really had too many options without putting enough damage to be able to take the fight again.
Yeah, so Team Dark took that mid lane turret very early on in the game, which was according to plan, right? Like, they have the big advantage in the mid lane. But Navi, in this fight, perfect timing. This is the fight that they did. They avoided the mid lane, and they went for the lane where they did actually take the turret. And right here we can see, even though Team Dark was trying to somewhat run away under their turret, of course they can't because they don't have a turret, they cannot. And right here the fight gets turned around, Navi just destroys them. There is no turret to save you, Team Dark. And that's the beauty of Navi's game right there. Their macro game was a miss.
Yeah, it was a lot better than their first game. And, you know, once these mid-lane fights kind of just wound up, then Na'Vi were able to take 2 split fights and win the game. And that's the power of these bruises and the tanks when you can just walk through middle lane. 1 minion wave apparently is enough to end the game right now with all the way through from middle lane into the Nexus. So kind of a surprise to see Na'Vi be able to end there, but it's those split death timers that just make it so difficult to actually hold through. You can see Hydra busting out the Jace in the bottom lane. Didn't have the mid lane push power that we've seen from a lot of bot laners, but certainly had the damage to make this game work.
ADC Jace, by the way. I've not seen it before. And it worked like a gem. It worked super well somehow, some way. Like, he was able to hold off in a lane up against the Varus. Just amazing job by Hydra right there. And we can see, like, Navi's composition was not about the damage. Even though Team Dark's composition pretty much dealt, like, some of the champions dealt twice the amount of damage from Navi. It's not enough because Navi had the tanky composition and they made it work against Team Dark.
Well, we've seen this composition with the Gragas, the Olaf, the Varus, the Thresh lose twice now. So I feel like maybe we'll see both teams kind of back away from some of those picks, at least in that combination. It doesn't seem to be able to find enough of the fights that they were looking for. And that one it was still close. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I felt like there were moments Team Dark could come back into it. But I think after that ace, I think Na'Vi looked pretty firmly in control of that game. It has been a weird series so far. I kind of feel like this is in a vacuum away from a lot of the other games that we've seen in the WREC. Let's take a look at our play of the game. I'm going to guess it's the game-ending fight that allowed Na'Vi to just go all the way down mid lane. But yeah, play of the game between these two teams. It's been a strange one.
All right, let's take a look at which one it is. So it's the one where they made the perfect macro decision, where initially the Camille, Vi on the Camille, engaged with his ultimate just to force a team fight right here. You know, getting away the casket from the Gragas, and exactly right here. They are able to win that 5 versus 5, and they did. Right, amazing by Hydro as well, by the way, just engaging, doing all the damage that he can, and then using a stasis enchant to survive. Like, basically baiting all of Team Dark to try and get that kill, and then Vex came in with the Moon, who just absolutely destroyed all of them.
Yeah, that's one of those item buys that you're like, well, it pays for itself over and over and over. Just getting one team fight like that where you manage to hit the stasis, bait the rest of the team in, and end up getting the kill. It's 1-1 between Team Dark and Na'Vi. It's been a weird series so far. Let's see if Game 3 gets even weirder when we come back in just a few minutes.
Can't shake the feeling, something here that I can't fix. Now I break, I don't bend. Ignorance is bliss. Had no idea what I was missing then. Turn this water into wine. Yeah, you're used to every time. Take these buckets, make them shine. Me, my nasty, make it high. Oh, oh, turn this water into wine. Make them shine. Make them. Turn this water into wine. The night breathes fire. Your eyes so bright. The dark will guide us through the night. Bye, bye, my love. I'll shine for you in the dark. The sky is lonely without the sun. It cried for years, an ocean of tears. It's how it's begun. Bye, bye, my love. I'll shine for you in the dark with my tribe of stars. My tribe of stars. My tribe of night breeze fire. Your eyes so bright. The dark will guide us through the night. Bye bye, my love. I'll shine for you in the dark. With my tribe.
You ready?
Welcome back, everybody, to the WREC. We are getting ready for Game 3 between Team Dark and Na'Vi. And we had Game 1, and there was an ARAM, and then we had Game 2, and we saw Team Dark basically take the losing comp from Game 1 and lose with it. So we have no idea what to expect for Game number 3.
As I said, like, I'm probably just not going to say anything during the draft, to be honest. Like, what are we supposed to say? These teams, we talked about these teams surprising us during the draft, but this is next level. We genuinely have no idea what they're picking, which is a good thing, of course. And we saw Navi make it work in the second game. And like, what the hell is going to happen in the third game?
Yeah, really weird draft out of Navi in the second game. Let's see if Stuart is as confused as we are. I think he had a little bit more insight into Hydro's Jace that he's seen before. So Stuart, what have you got for us for Game 3?
Yes, thank you very much, Stress. I do know a little bit about Hydro's Jace, but first off, I kind of want to talk about the draft and the bans towards Ziggs and also the Garen as well. Na'Vi were like, okay, we know Garen's super tanky, we know Ziggs does a lot of damage, so we're just going to ban them away. And it was a really nice adaptation by Na'Vi in game number 2. You can see that in that game, Team Dark didn't have as much damage and they didn't have the combo that they had in the first game. And then, speaking of the combo, we're going to talk about the power of Rakan. We've had 2 games now, and Rakan has a 100% win rate. First game, it was Juicy roaming around on the Rakan and doing really, really well in team fights. This game, it was Show on the Rakan. So I feel like in this third game, we're going to get a very, very high priority on that Rakan pick. And then last but by no means least, Hydro bringing out the Jace AD carry. He has played it before. He hasn't played it very recently, but I think because of nerfs to Jace. But he did play it a few months ago in other community tournaments that I was casting before. This pick is a classic Hydro pick, as we like to say. He likes to play some new things down in the Dragon Lane, and he played really, really well. He was able to space the members of Team Dark. He was able to poke, do a lot of damage, jump in as well, and use that stasis to bake Team Dark. And I feel like Team Dark's draft wasn't able to punish Jace in the way that they wanted to. So that's going to be very interesting going into game number 3. As we head back to Stress and Hells, I'm really excited to see who's going to come out on top.
Nothing gets past Stuart. I mean, if a player played something once 3 months ago, 6 months ago in Europe, Stuart, he knows it. He's on it. Smart Stuart. That's big brain over there. We'll see whether we have any of those like other picks coming through, like the Jace in the bot lane or the Amumu support that we've seen. Make sure you get your predictions in chat before we get into the next game. I think this could go either way. I think maybe Na'Vi have woken up a little bit now, seeing the way that they played out the map in game number 2. I hope they can continue that into game 3. I wasn't really a fan of the composition they ran. I actually think it lacked like mid lane wave clear and lacked a little bit of ways of getting fights started outside of Fee. So I wonder whether they'll go for the same thing as we head into game 3. From what I understand, Hells, you're just not going to say anything, so I can ramble for the next 10 minutes, right?
Okay, so I'm gonna try anyways. I'm the color caster. I have to do my best to do it. So we're probably gonna see the same bands again, right? Like the Fiora. 6 is definitely going to get prioritized. Yeah, the Yuumi, exactly. Like, these are just going to be the same bans. And I feel like this time, Jace is going to get banned out by Team Dark, right? Like, they left it open in the second game, thinking, yeah, sure, we'll deal with it for one game. But no, there's no way they're going to leave it out this game.
Yeah, Team Dark now back onto the blue side. This is what we had in game number 1 with Na'Vi. Maintaining that Yuumi ban and the set ban, so we're likely to see the Fiora ban come through as well, and the Jax that Team Dark have banned out. I actually think that it's probably because it's a similar playstyle to Olaf, but it does give Vex a stun. So it means he can just jump in and get a fight started either way. I wonder whether we'll see more. That's actually Na'Vi banning out the Jace. So what's that going to let through? We're probably going to have the Darius was their last ban in game number 1, so that may very well be available here after Fiora, we assume, is going to get taken on the board.
Yeah, Fiora's definitely going to get picked or banned, as we know, right? 100% picked or banned. But yeah, Jace being banned by Na'Vi, that I find very interesting, because they had the incredible Jace pick, and sure, they don't have the first pick, but they could have left it open to get some other power picks. But right here we see a Rakan ban, not a Ziggs ban, by the way. We see a Rakan ban. This is what I was talking about during the second game itself. I would have preferred to see a Rakan ban instead of a Ziggs ban, because Ziggs is obviously still really good on his own, but Rakan really enables him. Like with that engage that Rakan has, it fully enables the Ziggs. So what is Na'Vi going to ban out? They actually still ban away the Ziggs. So they still don't want to deal with the Ziggs. Even though Rakan is off the table, they still just don't want to deal with it.
So that means Fiora is available. Fiora is up, and if that goes to Vex, you knew it would be a big pick, but it's going to go to Sync or Elegi, and that'll be that top side of the map pick. We don't know exactly where it's going yet. Where does that leave us on the next picks? Gragas has been one of the high priority picks that's available. Varus is up as that bottom lane carry if Na'Vi wants to pick it. Darius also available as well. I mean, if Team Dark look at picking that Garen up too, we had that banned out in the last game, and Team Dark played it in game 1.
Yeah, instant Fiora pick, by the way. It took them like 1 second to pick it. I was just going to say that you don't really want to be playing a Gragas into a Fiora, because a good Fiora is going to counter the Gragas. She can just riposte either Gragas ultimate or his engage. But Na'Vi seems to be very confident in the Gragas. I don't like it, but we'll see how they pull it off. And now Team Dark is going for the Bruisers. They're picking the Darius. And I assume, I'm actually pretty sure that Fiora is going to be played in the jungle. And we know how strong Fiora is in the jungle.
Yeah, especially now if you pair them up with something like a Varus or
Another bruiser. What?
Another bruiser. So they're basically saying all we have to do is start winning a team fight, and Darius will do the rest of it. Like Renekton and Darius can both be played in mid lane and in Baron lane as well. Na'Vi may look to prioritize their support here if they want to take something off the board. It could also be that Varus that we've seen a number of times. I feel like Na'Vi is starting to lose a little bit of presence in this draft. They need something that can burn through bruises and also something that can start a fight. Varus will end up losing damage against a lot of these bruises later on into the game, so they need still something that can help them out later.
Yeah, I feel like this is quite a scary draft from Team Dark, as it's scary for themselves, because they've already revealed that they're running a heavy bruiser composition, which leaves Na'Vi open, to counterpick it if they want to. Like picks like the Orianna, which I really like against these bruisers, who deals a lot of damage per second and can survive very easily against engages from those bruisers because she has that shield, she has the ultimate. Actually, Na'Vi choosing to ban out the Corki, even though Corki would have been a very good response to Team Dark's composition. I'm just very interested to see how Na'Vi decides to counter this composition from Team Dark.
I think Lee Sin's a smart ban here. We know how good Vex is on that Lee Sin early game, that if he really can have presence in the lanes, it kind of allows them to stop the bruisers ever getting into the game, which from Team Dark, that would be devastating. Morgana banned away, Olaf banned away as well. So Na'Vi likely looking here for their support pick, while Team Dark are looking for likely support and their bottom lane carry. I don't know who it's going to be yet. Orianna is available if either team wants it. From there, I guess we look towards scaling of likes of Kai'Sa, but then we're lacking magic damage on the side of Team Dark.
Yeah, I am expecting the Orianna, but again, what we're expecting is probably not going to happen. And right here, Braum. We've seen this happen before, right? The Braum being picked into bruisers. Ashe,
Seraphine?
actually, wow. Ashe.
Seraphine, yeah, here we go. This is what we saw last week. The Ashe support Seraphine AP carry combination.
Yeah, that's an incredibly strong duo, by the way. Incredibly strong. Seraphine Ashe. And it gets countered by a Vayne? What?
That's
sure,
a solo
Vayne
lane
works against
Vayne.
bruisers. Oh, it's a Baron lane Vayne. All right. Yeah.
Which I saw yesterday in Purge. I can't remember who played it, but that's a solo lane Vayne into bruises. So it's going to be, obviously, Vayne amazingly good against melee range bruises.
It
now
has
in
to
the
be,
solo
though.
lane.
You can't play it against Ashe and Seraphine. You can't.
Yeah.
You will just get destroyed. That's why I said Vayne, right?
Exactly that. So it's Gragas jungle, likely Vayne top lane, Garen in the middle lane. Braum you mentioned a little bit. Braum does really well at defending against melee champions as well. You get that ultimate, Glacial Fissure knocks everybody up, stops the engage. You can use that shield to kind of like block a little bit of this engage. I think that it's still a tough composition to avoid fights from Team Dark. Like they have the Ashe, they have the Seraphine, they have 3 bruises. Like it's still scary.
Yeah, it's definitely scary. And now I like the Braum a little more because Braum can actually stop the Seraphine ultimate if he times his if he times his shield correctly. And then, of course, as a Seraphine, you can kind of wait out the Braum shield until he uses it and then use your ultimate, or do a crazy surprise ultimate. I like the composition of Team Dark. I feel the Baron lane Vayne is a bit risky because when you have Vayne in the Baron lane, especially in a competitive game, the enemy team can choose to just hard dive you, and Vayne doesn't really have the tools to defend against that. Sure, Vayne can push away one champion, but it's not going to be enough, and she's going to be very squishy. So when you're up against those big bruisers, even though you deal the true damage, you're going to be very prone in the early game to these ganks. And it's going to be interesting to see how Team Dark decides to gank on that Vayne. It's a mid lane Vayne.
It is, and I saw Stuart like that's first blood bot lane. Didn't see it. Seraphine Ashe already getting first blood bot lane. We'll get a replay, I hope, of that. Yeah, Stuart was going crazy in chat. I'm watching his messages come through about how Yeki was played it before. Yesterday, solo lane Vayne actually lost, and now Braum is in a lot of trouble in bottom lane. Na'Vi picking up the fan vote, but I think having already lost first blood is a little bit devastating for them to start this game, as Hydro has already burned his flash.
Team Dark already getting a kill right here, and they have that disgusting composition of the Seraphine Ashe, right, like we talked about. And Seraphine taking her root firstly, they just fully engaged on Hydro. Seraphine used her Ignite and they got a kill. And on top of that, they were also able to force a flash from Hydro, which makes her vulnerable for another kill. So huge beginning for Team Dark right here, just already snowballing their dragon lane, snowballing in the dragon lane.
Yeah, and this Seraphine is monstrous when it actually gets ahead. So, yeah. I mean, the fact that they have that here for the sustain, for the damage, is going to be really difficult for Na'Vi to deal with. I think that's also the problem with solo lane Vayne. I feel like everybody's played solo queue when you have a Vayne on your team that just doesn't get ahead enough and just falls apart. Like Vayne in the solo lane doesn't offer anything other than tank shredding. and that means you've got to get to the late game. And now they're going to go aggressive. Yeku is going to put damage down. Actually, Condemns beautifully gets Sync into the wall, but there was no vision to follow up on the damage. And that means there's no kill from here. That's going to give Renekton the ability to farm out mid lane.
Honestly, that was kind of lucky for Team Dark. For some reason, Mario and 201 were just continuously farming, while Navi was backing up Vex with 4 champions. Somehow, some way, Team Dark was still able to get the Rift Scuttler, but that was scary. Like, if Navi was there just a second earlier, they would have killed Sync, because the Condemn was beautiful from the Vayne, but the follow-up was just not there yet. But if they were there just a little earlier, Navi should have been able to completely win that fight. And now instead, unfortunately for Navi, Team Dark is going to be able to get 2 Rift Scuttlers, getting the Fiora ahead in this game, and yet again, keeping this massive advantage in the Dragon Lane. 201 and Mario just kind of like really having an easy time in this Dragon Lane.
So for those of you that perhaps didn't catch last week's games, this is likely the Seraphine taking the farm in the lane with Ashe doing Font of Life from Rune. So it basically kind of works on a massive amount of sustain, that when Ashe deals damage to a target with some of her abilities, your follow-up then from your allies is going to be able to heal, and then Seraphine heals and stuns and damage, and it is kind of oppressive to deal with in lane and in these early fights.
Yeah, and that's the whole power of it, right? Like, it's super oppressive in the lane. It kind of struggles in early game team fights because it's just not quite strong yet. But so it's very oppressive in the lane, and it's incredibly powerful in late game team fights as well. And these are really your 2 win conditions to be playing, right? Like getting ahead in your lane. Sure, in team fights, you may not be able to do as much in the early game, but when you reach the late game, you will destroy the enemy with that position.
Ooh, Yeku gets everything thrown at him, actually manages to flash away with the apprehend. It's going to drag him back under the tower. Yeku falls low, gets dropped. That's going to be another kill going to the Seraphine, and this is one of the problems of Vayne, is she is very easy to gank if you have enough crowd control to throw at her.
Exactly, and that's what we talked about, right? Like, even though it's a mid lane Vayne and not a Baron lane Vayne, this is the problem that you have when you play Vayne. Even though Vayne is incredibly good against Renekton and can pretty much push out Renekton out of the lane very easily, you're vulnerable for ganks, and that is what Team Dark is making sure they're playing up against, right? They're throwing all of their abilities, and the camera is having a rough time following Ashe's ultimate right there. But as you can see right there, like, actually, they used a lot of ultimates for it. Seraphine's ultimate, Darius' ultimate, Ashe's ultimate, and they don't have it for the Dragon now.
Some of them are nearly back up, like Ashe's arrow is nearly back up. One thing that I want to also kind of point out is, like, Ashe can undo Vayne quite heavily because her Hawkshot is also going to reveal Vayne. So Vayne can't use Final Hour stealth in the middle of team fights. Ashe can just fire that out, and you'll immediately grant vision on Vayne for the duration of that ability. So even there, like, Yeku is going to struggle through these fights, and the fact that Vayne is not getting a lane advantage is going to be really difficult. You can see Yeku is actually having to farm out jungle creeps while the rest of the team are trying to handshake on these objectives. So Sync is going to get Dragon. The rest of Vex and Navi are going to try and at least focus down Rift Herald. So the handshake comes through. 2 kills on this game already, though, over to Team Dark. Is allowing those bruises to get tanky.
Yeah, they're trying to push that bot lane turret as well, which is not going to work for them. They really cannot do much for it. They don't overextend, which is good to see. And right here, we're actually seeing the poking from Ashe as well. I'm not quite sure what she is building, actually. It's an interesting build. I would have assumed that she's going to go for some sort of a Black Cleaver build, because that works incredibly well on support Ashe. If you didn't know already, by the way, you can proc... If you get a Rune on Hurricane, we're talking about very late game now. If you get a Rune on Hurricane and a Black Cleaver, you can proc 5 stacks of the Black Cleaver on 3 enemies in 0.1 seconds.
Ooh, Fee is going to get Honey Fruit to be able to survive through Elegi and look for the engage in response. So we've seen on these support-ish Ashe builds, so you go like Manamune, Black Cleaver, and then you kind of, if you don't get more fights, you run out of money to build anything substantial after that. So it really kind of depends on how these first fights go past that. So that Manamune is going to allow Ashe to stack up a little bit. Ashe's early game damage on her auto attacks is pretty low. Like, let's be real, she struggles.
Compared to the Varus damage right there. Did you see that? That was crazy damage coming through from the Varus right there, from Hydro.
Yeah, exactly. Compared there, whereas like Varus just charges up his Q and goes, okay, I'm just going to take half your health. That's the difference between those two. Ashe, not the best wave clearing champion either, has some utility on it, but it's about that ultimate. We saw it fire out from Mario there. Will go on cooldown, but it's very, very short. They're always looking for those engages.
Yeah, and especially when you go for those cooldown reduction items like the Man Immune, your ultimate is going to be on quite a low cooldown, especially when we approach the late game. That's what we talked about. When we get to the very late game, Ashe's ultimate is going to be on such a low cooldown. And as we can see on Navi's composition, not many people going for the Mercury Strike. Actually, yeah, 2 people going for the Mercury Strikes, and Vayne definitely has to go for the Mercury Strikes. Like, that's a 100%. If Vayne doesn't go for Mercury Strikes, she's just constantly going to be caught out. Because you have the Ashe stun, obviously, you have the Ashe slows, and you have the Seraphine charm, roots, all of that stuff. So you need the Mercury Strikes against that.
Renekton already opting into Warden's Mail, just like, I'm going to try and slow down everything about this Vayne. Like, Renekton's basically playing the game of, I get into a fight, press stun on Vayne, pop my ult, and hope that the rest of the team actually deal the damage. Because this is not a game that one mid theoretically is going to carry in solo. Like, this isn't a Renekton carry performance that is likely to come from this. Navi drop Rift Herald in the top lane, trying to farm as much gold into Yaku on this Vayne as possible, because Vayne is always that late game insurance. Like, Vayne in the late game will shred through every single champion that Team Dark have. The only one that's going to be able to duel really is going to be that Fiora, and that's only if they land the crowd control onto the Vayne. So Navi need to get Yaku further into this game before they really can start looking at taking control.
Yeah, and they actually got 2 hits from their turret right there, which is really nice for Navi because they've really opened up the Baron lane, and the next turret is going to be close as well. And as you said, Renekton indeed going for the tanky build, more of a supporting Renekton. I kind of like that because you need it, right? You kind of need it. He's the one that goes in, gets the Warden's Mail to reduce the attack speed of the Vayne. Very, very good. He actually chooses to finish off the Black Cleaver. But what is he going to finish? Is he going to go for the Randuin's Omen or the Frozen Heart? I think the Randuin's Omen, which would be a great choice against the Vayne, because you really have to shut down the Vayne in the late game.
Yeah, you have to get on there, have to be able to survive. That's why we haven't seen that Blade of the Ruin King is the other build that Renekton does. If you can never get on a target, then you're never going to proc it. However, the ultimate was used by Mario in the middle lane. It's back to 2/3 of its cooldown remaining. Ashe is just really hard to fight objectives around. Her utility from the Hawk Shot, the volley slows people down. The ultimate is on such a low cooldown that you can kind of set up fights. And paired with this Seraphine, it means at the moment somebody's out of position, look, they just lose 1/3 of their health. And now Team Dark go, okay, let's just take the dragon. We've already chunked them out.
Yeah, exactly. This is what Team Dark is doing. And see, the beauty of their composition as well is because they have the Ashe with the Hawk Shot, as you said, it not only reveals the Vayne, but it also reveals wards. When you pop it, it reveals wards, which allowed them to gain a massive vision advantage on this map. Yet again, right? Like, the vision game is so damn powerful for Team Dark.
Yaku gets apprehended. The crystal arrow doesn't quite find the mark, but they found the damage down onto Scow. Does fall from that as Yaku is trying to turn the damage back on exchange, as Fee is the one diving in. Vex is going to body slam through, but gets a lot of damage put down in response, and you got to be careful from this. Fiora Sync is trying to find potentially the kill onto Vex. 2 of Navi fall, 1 from Team Dark, and Team Dark took the dragon, Navi took the Rift Herald.
Yeah, Team Dark is looking strong right there because their composition is only going to get better and better in the late game. And I would even argue that it skills even harder than the Vayne, because sure, Vayne can destroy everyone, but if Ashe Seraphine gets to the late game, Vayne is not even going to have the chance to scale into the late game. And I honestly feel like Team Dark has a very good position in this game right here. And again, I feel like it's going to be all about those mid lane towers. Both teams have mid lane towers, right? Navi has pushed a turret in the Baron lane, and then Team Dark has pushed the turret in the Dragon lane. So both are the same right here. And if we look into this replay right here, Hydro, with a beautiful ultimate, but just not quite enough damage. And yeah, here we can see they tried to kill Yaku, but one mid just doesn't have enough damage to do it. You really need the Hawk shots from Ashe to have that vision on Yaku to get that kill. With Fiora finishing her off, doing a great job. And just I really feel like Team Dark has the counters to Navi that they need.
Turret did fall in that replay. It was the top lane turret that Sync was able to push down. I kind of want to see Navi break that mid lane turret. It's difficult though. Beautiful apprehend once again. The charm is going to land onto Scow, and here comes the damage in response. This is the Glacial Fissure timing that you're going to see this Braum use a couple of times. That's a great placement of the kill. The gold going over to Yaku. That is absolutely what Navi need to do.
Exactly. Really, really great job by Navi funneling that gold onto Yaku. He doesn't have that much gold yet, but they're really doing a good job trying to get him ahead in the game, because if he gets ahead, although he doesn't have an enchanter support, he can still hard carry the game. It's just like both teams have some very strong tools, and which team is going to use their tools the best, that we're going to see in the late game, because as I said, like both teams can win this late game. It just really depends on how they play the game, Stress.
One thing I wonder whether Na'Vi can exploit, and I think it's difficult, is the fact that Team Dark really need to commit both Seraphine and Ashe into the middle lane to clear waves. Like, both can do it, but paired together is where they're the strongest, which leaves them with a one-player overlap in the side lane. Garen, not the best side laner the longer the game goes. Vayne can, but is a little bit vulnerable on the side lane. I just wonder, like, Na'Vi struggled in game 1 to break mid tower, and they didn't look elsewhere. I wonder if they can get that to work for themselves in this game.
Honestly, the funniest thing ever would be if Vayne chooses the wrong boots and she doesn't go for Mercury's threats and gets cocky and they just lose the game, right? I'm really curious to see which boots he went for, if we're sooner or later going to see the builds. I even feel like Vayne may need a quick silver enchant on top of the Mercury's threats. Like, I feel like Mercury's threats is not even enough to deal with this composition. Like, sure, you have to get it. Like, it's an absolutely have to get item, but it may not even be enough. And I feel that is going to be the only win condition that Team Dark is going to have, although a very strong one. But if they're unable to just change CC Yakyu, and he can get away with it, it's going to be hard for Team Dark to catch him out again.
Well, we'll have to keep our eyes on Mario at this point. Dropped back into the back of the lane to recall. Here comes the Rift Herald play. Arrow is likely to come out in response to this, doesn't look for a target. However, you can see Edge of Night already picked up. Big fight start as the beginning of this fight goes in favor of Na'Vi. If they can land some damage, Rift Herald is already charged, but already died. That's a massive, massive charm from Seraphine, and Yakyu is already dead to start this fight off. Now it's all on Hydro to put down the damage from this Varus. Can they get it to work as Vex doesn't land the body slam? Now in trouble from this Fiora, does get taken down by the hail of arrows, and one mid has gone deep into the backline. Apprehend finds Scow. Hydro trying to charge up the piercing arrow. It's a double kill already, and 201, it's Juicy under the moniker 201, back behind the tower, gonna try and heal them up on this. Seraphine has enough healing to survive through Hydro's damage. Na'Vi do take a little bit of a win from this. If they can get the dragon, that's gonna be a big pickup.
Yeah, definitely. They can just go for this dragon. I want to highlight something funny as well. By the way, Vayne went for Protobelt. And the Protobelt is the dodge out stuff. But before talking about that, let's look at this fight. A really good Rift Herald from Na'Vi right there, just to apply some pressure, but then an even better ultimate by Seraphine, being able to easily get that kill on Vayne. And they were also, Edige was actually able to get his full stacks on Darius on the Garen, but unfortunately unable to follow it up because he's pretty low. But look at Hydro in the backline, the Varus, look at how much work he's doing. When he gets dived on Stasis and then from over the wall, boom, just destroying Team Dark right there. Really, really great job by Na'Vi, especially great job by Hydro right there, staying in the backline and just dashing out so much damage. And there we see it. Actually, no, Vayne undid the Protobelt and went for Stasis. She does have the Mercury threats, sure. But again, I feel like it's not enough. But she's not the main point of this game. It's more the Varus. Look at how much gold he has. And then the Gragas as well.
Yeah, and Varus opting towards Mortal Reminder, or at least picking up some of the items. Of course, that's against the Seraphine. You need to get some of that healing debuff coming through. That's why we got a Bramble Vest on the Garen. I wouldn't be surprised. Yep, there's an Oblivion Orb right as we're talking about it for Vex, just to be able to cut through the healing. If you can, it makes Seraphine a little bit less potent, but Fee, now under the tower. Vex is here as well. Damage coming out in response, and Sync hasn't been able to find that grand challenge to convert, although there's a beautiful arrow control from Mario. Sterix gets popped onto Fee, and Fee having to back away. Vex now has them low, and here comes Scow. The rest of the damage is nowhere near, though. Like, Vayne and Varus too far away to really capitalize on that. It does allow them to reposition back into mid lane, though, and prevent Team Dark from looking for mid lane tower.
Yeah, Team Dark's composition is slowly but steadily getting enabled, and what a beautiful
engage through, as now Scow is going to back himself away after that Glacial Fissure. Sync used the riposte early on to try and predict the Chains of Corruption from Hydro, and Hydro went, okay, I'll wait, and then I'll throw it out after. Everybody's recalling out of this fight. Nobody wants to try and push mid.
Yeah, beautiful engage by the Seraphine, but an even better move by Shao on the Braum. He actually blocked out that Seraphine ultimate, and only limiting the Seraphine ultimate to hit 2 people, which is Scow and someone else. But great job by Shao. If he didn't do that, they would have gotten absolutely destroyed by the Seraphine ultimate right there.
Na'Vi back to mid lane. This is shades of game 1, unfortunately, at this point. They made a couple of plays down into the bottom lane, which is good, and now they're going to try and pressure top lane, but they haven't been able to break this tower yet. And with no more Rift Heralds available, it really is down to kind of like a botched fight at this point. In my opinion, though, the fact that the game is going on longer and longer, though, and Team Dark aren't able to ramp up the pressure, is buying time for Yakyu. I know you mentioned that Hydro still has damage, and maybe the scaling still goes in favor of Sync in some perspectives in Team Dark, but I always feel like there's a hope when there's a Vayne on your side and you're getting late into the game. You've always got that opportunity to come back with one big team fight. She'll rip through you.
That's definitely true. Both teams have the late game. Like, I cannot give it to either teams right here that has the late game. We're going to see some crazy 1v1 between Noxus and Demacia.
I watched Arcane. My law's pretty bad. Definitely should be better after working on League of Legends for 10 years, but not exactly my forte. Hawkshot's going to come through the mid lane just to try and spot out where everybody is. Elegies have picked up the Sterix, so we'll see whether that'll give him a little bit more of that survivability in the next fight. Ultimates all up. Flashes nearly all up. Just Juicies on this Seraphine and Hydros on the side of Navi. So we've always got to keep an eye on those cooldowns. Is what's up, what's available, and how can the next team fight start. I like this move out of Team Dark to try and just drop into the jungle, get what they can, but with Dragon coming up in 20 seconds, it's a Mountain Elder. So it's going to die slowly.
Yes, and as you can see, like Team Dark they don't have the advantage right here. Navi is the one that's waiting near the dragon, and I want to see a sweeper come out, sweeping out that ward, because again, it's really all about division. And oh god, this is gonna be the big fight that decides the game's stress.
Redemption used to try and split Navi a little bit back into mid lane. Apprehend onto Vex. That is the ultimate used from Seraphine, but it hasn't really found the start of the fight that they were looking for. And Navi just say, okay, let's pop the shield, just absorb a lot of this. Wow. There's the poke damage from Hydro. It's already shredded down Mario and Elegy, and now they try and go aggressive. Vex forced to flash back out, then get an explosive cast in. Fee overreaching. This is all now to try and get this middle lane turret, because they know if they can break it, it gives them access to the dragon. But look at the wave clear. They haven't been able to get it. There's the Chains of Corruption into the Glacial Fissure. Picks up the kill for the Vayne. They didn't get the turret, but they will get the kill and get the gold onto Yeku.
They didn't get the turret. Like, I love how these teams are just playing so hard around these mid lane turrets. Well, one mid is even sacrificing himself.
Yeku, this is a terrible overreach. As Yeku is trying to go in for the solo kill, they have to get Yeku out. Yeku is desperately trying to get outbound challenge. He's going to proc, because there's the flash forward from Mario. They knew if they can get that, here comes the rest of the damage. So his Ashe is going to fall. And Elegy will end up getting picked off. From a massive overreach from Yeku, the rest of Navi actually rescue the situation and are able to maybe set themselves up for that mid tower.
Wow, and the explosive casket coming through from Vex on the full AP Gragas, dealing massive damage right there. And they are finally able to get the mid lane turret, which is going to give a huge advantage to Navi, fighting for this Elder Dragon, and even for the Baron, by the way. And as now, too, they can actually get some vision around. You know, they have the turret, so if Navi wins this fight, Team Dark cannot run away. And if we look at this replay, Yeku made a huge mistake, but the stasis saved him. And I talked about it earlier, saying that I didn't fully agree with the stasis, but there it proved worthy, right? Even more worthy than the QSS would have ever been. And because of that, he kind of baited, even though he died, he kind of baited the whole of Team Dark to go in fully. And they were able to win that fight. And is Sync really going to take this red buff? Where is the Ashe? Why don't you give it to the Ashe?
They're like, Ashe is going to slow and deal enough damage. We'll just get it onto the Fiora as well at this point. I mean, I honestly thought that was a bit of a throw from Yeku at first, but the rest of Navi really rescued. Yeku far away from this fight as the Navi lineup are trying to back away towards mid lane. They bought enough time for Yeku. Now is this the team fight for Vayne to really unleash the damage way past that second item mark and trying to get the damage out. But look, there's just not enough support here when it comes to getting health back for Yeku yet. Doesn't have the flash, didn't have the barrier, stasis still down, so can't afford to play aggressively. Gonna go back up to that red buff. Apparently that's the most important thing in the game for Yeku right now.
Ashe already has his ultimate, by the way. Mario already has it again. The cooldown is so incredibly low. Again, I don't like how Team Dark is not giving the red buff to Mario, even though he's only level 13, which is not very high. He's the one that should be getting the red buff, I feel, because he's the one that has the ranged attacks. And this fight, like, we saw a lot of random ultimates coming through, right? 201 with the Seraphine, not doing a great ultimate. And then Shao also completely missing his ultimate. So we're seeing a bit of random ultimates, and I feel like whoever wins this fight is the one that uses those ultimates better than the other. Whoever uses the ultimates better.
I mean, especially that Seraphine ultimate. When it hits, it's going to demolish Navi. But when it misses, Navi have that perfect opportunity to go aggressive. Yeku is just vacuuming up all of the gold on the Rift. he's taking red buff, he's taking top lane, he's taking wolves. He's just anything that Navi want to give him right now. They're like, the rest of the team is just going to hold mid. You bounce between objectives and different lanes, take all the gold, and then we'll win a team fight in middle lane. Whereas like this comp from Team Dark hasn't been able to break it. And I think this Braum pick has really undone them because he can just stand at the front and say, no more ultimates, no more projectiles, nothing's getting through.
If Braum blocks Serafin's ultimate, Navi instantly wins the team fight. That's a fact. If Shao is able to do that, and he's done it before, they just win.
Ash ultimate comes through and it's going to get blocked as Yeku is the one to put out some damage. Chains of Corruption, and this looks like an overreach from Team Dark. They try to get this crowd control to land. There's a kill going through onto Fee, and Navi have finally found the team fight they were looking for. Team Dark were the ones pushing forward, but Navi are going to end it with 3 kills. Now they turn towards the Elder Mountain Drake, and they may even be able to set themselves up for Baron soon after.
Yeah, and we can clearly see Navi doing an amazing job countering the damage, by the way, countering Team Dark. Varus dashing out those arrows, dealing so much damage. It's not really about Yeku, it's more about Vex, Vi, Hydro, and Shao in this game, to be honest. And they take the Elder Mountain Dragon. Shao doing such an amazing job, just body blocking whatever is thrown at them. Hydro dealing the poke damage that he has to do. Vex dealing massive damage. So if you look back at this team fight, again, Seraphin ultimate just didn't do much. So the arrow from Ash didn't do much. Seraphin ultimate got blocked by the Braum, and then here the counter engage, they just win. Navi just wins, because after that initial engage, which we talked about, Team Dark doesn't really have any tools to do something, right? Like, you have the insane engage with Ash ultimate and the Seraphin ultimate, but if that doesn't do anything, and doesn't really provide any value to you, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Oh, that's already the kill onto Eleki, and you have to feel like this is going to be it, as it's 2 kills already to Yeku, looking for more as Garen's picked up 1. Fee is going to walk through the fight, and Yeku's now into that point of the game where Vayne flashes forward, nearly gets punished for it, though, as that's a lot of damage. Doesn't even matter, as Juicy is going to get cleaned up. That's a complete ace for no members lost from Na'Vi. They have everything that they want to look at closing this game. Teleport's going to come in through that middle lane, and you have to feel that with 30 seconds on the lowest death time, as Na'Vi are going to do it.
Na'Vi made the comeback, and just to add salt to the wounds in that last fight, Shao blocked out the Seraphin ultimate, even if he didn't have to. Just what an absolute lad this player is. We've seen him do it before, we've seen him do it again. Just doing an incredible job on support. What an amazing performance by Na'Vi. Just after that first game, I feel like the first game was a bit of a warm-up for them, right? To kind of get into it, and then the second and the third game, they really showed what they were made of.
Yeah, I think I was a little worried coming out of game 1 in this series, as you mentioned. I think game 3 looked similar to game 1, but I think just the ability to control the side lanes a couple more times kind of shows why we're expecting a lot out of Na'Vi. I like this composition out of Team Dark. I like that they tried to get it work with the Ashe and the Seraphine, but I think the difference this week to last week is like, you know, Na'Vi understood all they needed to do was block some of that crowd control coming into it, and as long as Hydro can put that damage out on the Varus, he can carry through these team fights. It wasn't, as you said, it wasn't all about Yeku. It's actually a lot about this Varus in these early game fights, and then Vex having damage, Fee having damage, and maybe even the Vayne plays as a distraction because you're so desperate to kill the Vayne that you're like, oh, we'll just ignore everybody else.
Yeah, and then Hydro is going to absolutely destroy you. Just such a solid job by Na'Vi in this game. Their macro game was amazing. Their team fighting especially was just beautiful. And right here, we actually see a team fight that did go well for Team Dark, right? Like, here Shao didn't block out the Seraph ultimate. Seraphine had a great ultimate. And that's where they were struggling a little bit. But then again, Hydro on the Varus, look at him in this team fight, standing in the back line, using the stasis when he has to. And then after they disengaged, after Team Dark disengaged, look at him. Boom! Shooting the arrow right through and getting those kills that he has to get.
Yeah, getting that cleanup working on the Varus. It was a bit of a slowdown in the mid game as Team Dark were clearing mid lane out very, very quickly. But I feel like I criticized Yeku for overextending in the jungle, but I think actually it did so much work bringing Team Dark into the fight that suddenly, like, Na'Vi were just able to get everybody else to work. It kind of that bait in. So shout out to Yeku. I was a little harsh on you in the moment, calling it terrible. But, you know, sometimes you just got to play the bait. Sometimes you got to put it out there on a silver platter for the enemy to take before you can shred it from them.
Indeed, he was the bait for the team. We saw that Team Dark was like fully focused on killing Yeku, constantly throwing those Ashe ultimates on him. And I want to say, Hydro actually had 2 defensive items which really didn't allow Team Dark to do that. He had a Guardian Angel and he had Edge of Night. Nearly forgot the name of the item. He had those 2 items that, and he had a stasis, by the way, which is also a third thing as well. So you're never gonna kill Hydro like that. That's just not gonna work. So Yakvi was kind of a bait, although he still did incredibly well in this game. As you can see, he had a lot of gold. He did some good kills. And then Xiao, what a lad. 16 assists out of 16 kills, by the way. Wow. What an amazing performance.
He's like, all I got to do is support my carries, keep them alive, and that'll do enough. I mean, Vex coming out with a lot of damage. Surprising amount of damage from that burst that Gragas brings. Seraphine kind of showing exactly what she can do as the carry. I feel a little bad for Team Dark in the sense of like they made a lot of progress from their first loss coming in through and bringing this team fight style. But I have kind of felt like they're a little rough around the edges at times. I feel like coming today against NAVI, they've looked the best that they did look, though, for Team Dark. I think they actually were contending and possibly even could have won this game. Just, I feel like NAVI played too well around what Dark were trying to do.
I mean, look at this graph as well. Team Dark was just doing so well in this game, right? Like being at 2,000-3,000 gold all the time. And then right at the ending, boom, just instant loss. And that's the team fighting from NAVI. They did such a good job countering it. And honestly, Team Dark should be proud of themselves as well, right? Like even though they've been eliminated now, there's going to be other chances. And really, really good job taking a game from NAVI and making the series super hard against like one of the best teams of Europe. They should be proud of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. We're likely to see them again in the last chance qualifier later on. Let's take a look at our play of the game, and we can check out how Game 3 went down in favor of NAVI.
Yeah, so it's probably going to be one of those late game team fights, right, where NAVI did a little bit better. So here we can see kind of desperate with Ash Arrow on Yakyu, but he had the Mercury threat, so he got out of it very easily. Then the Seraphine ultimate as well, being blocked by the Braum. Just like NAVI knowing what they have to deal with. They know how they have to deal with, and they know how to deal with it, and they just very easily win a team fight in a game that they were seemingly behind it. But they just kept their heads cool, knew what to do, and they executed it perfectly.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've come to learn from NAVI is like when teams start to push them in the early game. I believe it was against Aphelion that this happened as well last week, where Aphelion came out really strong at the beginning of the game and were like, we're going to push you. And then NAVI were able to slow them down on that Draven and say, no, let's play it at our pace. And I feel like that's similar to NAVI to what we saw today. Game 1, they struggled against what Dark were doing. Game 2, they gave us a really weird composition with like the Nunu and the Jace in the bottom lane and some really strange things. And Game 3, they read the composition, said, we know how to play against this, and then played it out until those mid-game team fights and knew exactly what they had to do. So NAVI advance. Unfortunately for Team Dark, they're out. Let's go to an interview with NAVI's coach.
Very much, Stress. I'm indeed joined by NAVI's coach. Congratulations on the victory, but a very, very close game as well. What are your thoughts coming into this game, and how does your team feel after winning?
First of all, thank you for being here. About the game, times we know Team Dark are a very unpredictable team. Like those Zamumu, Ramuses, Ash Seraphines is kind of hard to predict their bot lane, so we mostly focused on our top side of the map. Of course, game 1 was a little bit unflow with drafting. It was kind of on my end as well. But I felt like, and all the players knew we were better as a team, so we just got ourselves together and won.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, going back to the drafts and especially the second game as well. The second game, you drafted the Jace in the AD carry role. We've seen Hydro play it before. We saw Vex on Nunu. What are your thoughts about the draft and what was the plan going into that game?
About game 2, I mean, we knew we wanna draft Jace on ADC role since the beginning, because if we let them Jace, it's gonna be hard for us as well. So we just decided to go for it. That's pretty much it. And about Nunu, like some people did say we kind of griefed this, but Nunu was like good in terms of zoning potential, and if our players played good, as they should, they won. So that's it.
Awesome stuff. Well, congratulations again. Good luck in the next round as well. Hopefully we'll see some more amazing plays from yourself and the team. Going back to Stress and Health.
Thank you.
Amazing plays. From a coach, that means good drafts, and I don't know that we got that. Although that's a bit flamey. I just don't know. I mean, I like the thing about Nunu and the way that it plays out. I think Nunu's a good champion. I'm just confused as hell as to what happened in game 2. But that's why I'm here talking about the game, not coaching a team, not playing the game. And nevertheless, Navi with that Nunu make it through to the next round of the lower bracket. So we've heard from the team, we've seen the results. There's only really one more thing to do for this series before we wrap up, and that is crown an MVP. I know, Hells, you and I have had our opinions on this, and I think we kind of forced it after watching some of those replays. The MVP of this series from Navi's side of things, I hope, if I'm correct, if we got our way, if we stuffed the ballot and forced it, should be Hydro from that bottom lane.
Definitely, and you know that the Jace game really did it, right? Like, sure, in the last game he did an amazing job with the Varus as well, like really hard carrying it. But this fight especially, like completely baiting out the entirety of Team Dark, doing so much damage, using his stasis like an absolute giga chat, and then getting a triple kill. And right here as well, look at Hydro. While the fight is happening on this side of the map, he's just standing behind the wall, doing what he has to do as a Varus. Boom! Hitting the sync, getting the kill, and when he gets engaged about the stasis enchant, yet again like last game, and then from over the wall, just doing so much damage. And throughout the entire game, we talked about it, the amount of damage that Hydro was just dashing out in that game was insane on that Varus. Just absolutely amazing job, 8.75 KDA as well, so kill, deaths, assist. Really, really good job by Hydro. Absolute deserved MVP right there.
Yeah, really well deserved. We were kind of discussing who it should be, and I think there were shouts for like Yeku from the first game, and then it could have been Scout from the support. But I think like game 2 and 3, Hydro's performance was so solid just to be able to get them through the majority of the team fights, outputting damage consistently. And I think a really, really good performance overall from Hydro. We'll have to see what Navi bring us in their next series, but that is a little while away. We've got a really exciting series coming up next between Team Queso and Zero Zone. Zero Zone have been looking really strong this week, and Team Queso, we know what they can do. So that series is coming back in 3.5 minutes. Stick with us. You don't want to miss it.